Every time I fill that out, I feel like I'm on deck at the rodeo. Oh, okay. All right. Well, welcome to Hoof Chat Tuesday. Today we're going to do some hoof evaluations. We're going to do Megan. We're going to evaluate her horse's hooves. I thought I would read a little more, maybe get into a little bit more about the history of hoof care. Very interested in Bracy Clark's writings, and especially interested in how the barefooters misquote him constantly and take him out of context. Try and say that he was against shoes when he wasn't against shoes at all. He was against the method, the way the shoes were put on. And he researched horses' feet and experimented with different shoeing and trimming and anatomy for, well, he died when he was 91. And he was one of the first students to ever sign up for the new vet school there in London. Now, since I last talked about him, I learned some interesting things because I've kept reading about him and trying to understand some things. So I'm going to show you some stuff here that I thought was pretty interesting. Eventually, I'd like to put it into a kind of a small course on the history, because it is true that if you don't learn from history, you're going to repeat it. And what we're finding now is that because we haven't learned about the people that established the doctrines in the vet school. See, now you're going to learn something real interesting about the veterinary profession today, okay? That's going to answer a lot of questions. Now, it started out good. It was a good idea. They started the first vet school in France. Then, I don't know, 20, 30 years later, I might not be exactly correct on the dates of that. They started a vet school there in London. And I'm going to read just something here because I'm going to show you the progression of the people that ran that vet school and why it immediately started going downhill, and how all kinds of false understandings and false doctrines. You know, the farriers were kind of messed up to begin with because they didn't base anything really on anatomy. They didn't know anatomy. It was just tradition and nailing the shoes on and stuff like that. It wasn't until the vet schools come along that then the vets started studying anatomy and then getting involved in shoeing as well, because the vet schools were primarily for horses, because with horses you did everything. There's something I got to read you today too that was written by one of our group members, Sally Spencer, and this will really drive it home for you. Let's see, this will really drive it home for you for just how important horses were. We don't really think about it. So I'm going to go find this thing that Sally wrote. I'm going to read that to you first. So just hold on here. Oh, just a second. Got so many windows open, I don't know where I'm at. Hold on. Let's see. Sally also wrote a book on the Morgan horse that's really interesting. Very talented, wonderful lady. A second here. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to read this. Just a second here.
Sorry, Linda, before you start, I'm Angeliki. Can you see me?
Can I see you?
Can you?
Just a minute, and I will see.
No, am I in?
Oh, yeah, okay. I think you are. Okay. I hear you.
Okay, thank you. Done.
I hear you. I was looking for you. I don't see you. Let's see. I'm not all that good at operating this little board here. but I'm sure you're here and stuff. So, okay, now I got to go find that again. Okay, so I'm going to screen share and I'm just going to read this. You can kind of read along with me. Let's see here. Well, now I lost it. Oh, just a second. Who's that? Hold on. Okay. Let's see here. Let me find this. I just had it. Oh, I think I'm too far up. Okay, so I'm going to read this. Just a minute. I'm going to find the deal and screen share. Oh, more. Share screen. Okay. Okay. So we're talking about just how horses were used. And I don't know if you heard this in, I think it was the Hoof chat I did before the last one. Maybe it was the last one about how many here say I have read or heard of Black Beauty?
I.
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 Well, a few.
Heard
Okay.
of it, but I haven't read it.
Okay. Well, in it, man, I read every single horse book. See, I inherited them from my mom and stuff. My grandmother had all the horse books she bought her kids, and I read all of them. I mean, there was like we had piles of them. Anyway, in Black Beauty, she talks about how they used check reins on the carriage horses. And what that is, it's a rein that goes from the harness up either over the head or through the sides of the bridle to the bit. And what it does is it keeps the horse from putting his head down. And so in Black Beauty, what they say, what Beauty says is, oh, it's just for fashion. You know, they want the horses to be heads to be high and pretty. But what you find out in Bracy Clark's preface of his book, Hippodonamia, is that the reason that they used those check reins and kept the horses' heads up was to keep them from falling because their feet were so bad and they were in so much pain all the time that they're always tripping and falling, breaking their knees. And he said that horses only lived about half their lifespan, and that really he said he didn't even have words for the suffering that he saw due to what the farriers did to the feet. And so he became a vet. One of the first vets to graduate from the school in London. But what I wanted to tell you about is the first guy that actually ran that school. Okay, and then we're going to see the second guy, and then I'm going to show you something that's going to show you where the farriers got a lot of their mistakes from. Okay, so but first I'm going to read this that Sally wrote. Okay. She says, I have wondered on many occasions if people actually ponder over the contribution that horses have made to human life. I did not go out of my way to educate myself too widely about this, but researching about the early development of the Morgan horse and my interest in the care of barefoot equine hooves, which encompassed learning something about the development of the horseshoe, did alert me to how far-reaching, selfless, and enduring horses have been through the ages and throughout the world. Despite being loved and cared for by some, they have been trapped, used and abused, prevented from having a true voice, and for many and varied reasons. And she has this poem. It's pretty neat. Look back at our struggle for freedom. Trace our present day's strength to its source, and you'll find that man's pathway to glory is strewn with the bones of a horse. Unknown author. Reading the words above, what does it cause you to think and or visualize? Perhaps reading this short poem with an extraordinarily long meaning would cause the mind of the reader to reflect on the plight of horses in not so long ago times of the development of humankind. The use of horses for basic transport, hunting, homesteading and pioneering, sport, traveler, sales, use as stock horses, farm work, lumbering, hauling, city business, and short and long distance transport, and not least food. Use of the equine seems endless. Mechanical inventions abounded due to the help of equines. In terms of prestige, horses lifted up the status of people and families in society, used for parading, pomp, and numerous exclusive sport enterprise, for example, polo and racing. Horses have featured and suffered excruciatingly in the conflict of war on a massive scale. The word war on its own is self-explanatory. Horses were probably first used to pull chariots in battle starting around 1500 BC. But it wasn't until around 900 BC that warriors themselves commonly fought on horseback. Among the first mounted archers and fighters were Scythians and a group of nomadic Asian warriors who often raided the ancient Greeks. Women warriors fighting on foot against horses couldn't have been easy. The Greek soldiers shown on this ancient vase, here we go, from 450 BC, struggles against an Amazon warrior on horseback. Stories of these legendary women warriors might have been inspired by Scythian raiders who frequently attacked the Greeks on horseback. In fact, recent archaeological discoveries indicate that some Scythian warriors were indeed female. Anyway, I thought that was really great what she wrote about the uses that we had for them. You know, this paragraph especially, where it talks about, well, where was it here? Okay, so let me read this again. Perhaps reading this short poem with an exceedingly long meaning would cause the mind of the reader to reflect on the plight of horses not so long ago in times of the development of humankind. Here we go, their uses again. And we could probably think of a lot more. Basic transport, hunting, homesteading, pioneering, sport, traveling, sales, use a stock horse, farm work, lumbering, hauling, city business, short and long distance transport. You know, and of course they killed them and ate them too and still do. But the fact of the matter is that in the area of the horse's feet, since that shoeing was developed over in, well, I think it started in the UK, but I'm not sure. But irregardless, that when men work on the horse's feet, in Bracy Clark's day, most of the horses were crippled, basically, and all suffering tremendously. And he goes on and on about it just in the preface of his book. And so I want to show you, we're going to go to his biography here, just a minute here. Let me find where I put that. Okay. Now, I'm going to skip down here a little bit. Wait, where are we at here? Let me see. New share, make sure I got. Okay, here we are. What we want to look at is this Professor Coleman, but I'm going to tell you a few things I learned about Bracy Clark here in a minute. Okay, so, you know, when you go into Wikipedia, they always, you know, give you links to these other people, right? Well, last time I was reading this, okay, I'm going to go down here. Well, let's just read the whole thing again. He was the youngest son of John and Hannah Clark of Chipping Norton. He was educated at the Quaker School of Thomas Huntley. Now, this is he was born in 1771 and he died in 1860. Okay, so he lived during the time when horses were everything. And a lot of times we think, well, that's old stuff. We don't need to read that. These people were the ones that had the horse sense. See, when you're talking about common sense, like they say that person has no common sense, another word for that is people will say horse sense. Because back then, everything you did and everything you were around and everything you got had to do with horses. So you better have some sense in how to be around them. And because horses were common, okay, common sense is directly tied to the term and thought of horse sense. Otherwise, you could get killed pretty easy. As we know, all of us having horses. Okay, so, and his whole life was about horses' feet. His whole life, all right? From the time he graduated from vet school, his whole life was dedicated to the foot of the horse. But why is it that we didn't get to know more of his knowledge than we did in what came out of that vet school, which you're going to find out was not good. So we're going to read a little bit about him again here. I've got another biography other than this. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to read the end of this about his first teacher and the first man to run that veterinary school over there in London, whose name was, oh, he is right here. Okay, this guy, he was a Frenchman. That guy right there, Charles, who can pronounce that? Charles Vial de Saint Bell or Saint Bell. Okay, we'll call him that. He was the first person to be in charge of the veterinary college. Okay, and he was there for a year and then he died. And Bracy Clark, now see, when I first read this, I didn't understand what it was talking about. Because, well, yeah, let's just stay here. I'll read this. So Bracy was the youngest son of John and Hannah Clark of Chipping Norton. He was educated at the Quaker School of Thomas Huntley. Now, that's really important to know because the Quakers were pacifists, very peaceful people, and very godly believers and stuff like that. And at Beaufort in Oxfordshire, he was one of the first students enrolled in the newly established Veterinary College of London. He studied under Charles, this guy here. Okay, St. Bell. We'll just call him Charles St. Bell. St. Bell died of an unidentified fever in 1793. The school opened in 1792. All right. Now it says here it was later thought to be glanders. Now, I think it was that. It could have been what they called childbed fever too, because these people were always dissecting stuff. St. Bell, Charles here, was an anatomist. He was really interested in the study of anatomy. And if I remember right, he was actually a doctor first. He was a French veterinary surgeon, but a lot of these people started out as medical doctors first. And Bracy Clark studied to be a surgeon on people first and studied human anatomy, and then then he thought, well, We study human anatomy and we learn more about human anatomy so we can help people. Why don't we study the anatomy of the horse's foot? And so he is one of the first people to really start to study the anatomy of the horse's foot. He even named some of the parts, like the periopal skin. It used to be called the frog band. He named it the periopal skin because he knew Greek. And so he took, and they're always taken, if you notice, these people, they all knew Greek and Latin. And that's why a lot of our scientific terms have to do with Greek and Latin. So, because they take that's what they name stuff after. Okay, so the school opens in 1792. It is run by Charles St. Bell, and he dies a year later. And when I first read this, I did not understand it. It took me reading some more things and learning some more facts, both out of Bracy Clark's book and some different biographies to figure out what was going on here. When I first read it, because it says Clark disregarded the instructions to stay clear of the body to produce a death mask. Okay, now, when I first read that, I thought it was a misprint. And I thought, oh, maybe Charles St. Bell disregarded instructions about getting close to somebody that had something and wound up getting it and dying. I didn't understand what was going on there. But this is what it was. Okay. Now, in one of Bracy Clark's books, he's talking about feet, and he says he has the foot or the hoof of the great racehorse Eclipse in front of him. And he's talking about it and everything. I thought that was pretty neat. Well, then later I find out that Charles St. Bell here, that when Eclipse died, Eclipse was one of the most famous racehorses in history. Like, we wouldn't have Northern Dancer and a bunch of these other horses without Eclipse. And so St. Bell here had acquired the body of Eclipse, and they had dissected that body. And he also had the skeleton and everything else. Well, then I found out that before Bracy Clark dies, that he had the skeleton of Eclipse, and that he sold it to the veterinary school, to a veterinary school in Scotland. But then it wound up in over in London at that veterinary school. So, you know, what does this kind of stuff show you? That Bracy Clark made disregarded warnings to stay away from St. Bell's body, and he made a death mask. You know why? Because those two men were very close and stuff. And so they were good friends, and Bracy Clark wound up with the possession of the body or bones and feet of Eclipse that belonged to St. Bell. So this showed that these men had a real close relationship as far as the way they were, the way they studied, the things they believed, their interest in anatomy. See, you can see this relationship by this, because people did death masks so that they would have a likeness of a person's face after their death. And it was as a memento, just like in the Victorian age, they used to take pictures of dead people, like with the living, like standing there like they're alive. There's a whole bunch of that on YouTube. So you can tell that these people were close. So this guy here, all right, if we click in here, very interesting person. An anatomist. I mean, you can see the anatomical drawings and things that he did. Quite the educated man. And he runs the school for a year. All right. Well, after him, let's go back here. After him, and this is what I want to find. I want to find out who appointed this other guy, because this is the guy we're going to talk about. This is the guy. He didn't know anything about veterinary medicine, and he is appointed to this school to run it, and he ran it for quite a number of years. And he did everything he could to keep any of Bracy Clark's research or anything from being known. He also constantly stabbed the guy in the back. And Bracy didn't realize that for like about 20 years, that it was because of him that his research was going nowhere. So where's this guy's name? Just a minute here. Oh, where are you? Edward Coleman. Okay. Says Clark specialized in conditions of horses' hooves, and in 1806 he patented a new horseshoe. He was then in practice anyway, somewhere in London. He wrote extensively about the hoof in a series of pamphlets and books. In his work on the hoof, Clark concluded that great damage was done by the shoeing practices of his time. But his views were ridiculed by his contemporaries. Yeah, it was Edward Coleman that got people to ridiculing all of Bracy's work, the second person that became in charge of that vet school. And so it says, in those opinions, see, now they're wrong here. He says in those opinions, he was following, however, the teaching of Edward Coleman. He didn't follow nothing of Edward Coleman's. I'll guarantee you that. You're going to find out this guy was a super creep. Okay, so see, he was St. Bell's successor. So again, this Charles St. Bell was a true doctor, a true anatomist, a true veterinarian. And he was only in charge of that school for 1 year before he died. And then this creep took over. It says he trained as a surgeon, like he was a human surgeon, but he was appointed the head of the London Veterinary College in its early years. Okay, now he didn't know anything about veterinary medicine. Why would they appoint somebody like that? But isn't that the way it goes? Say, so what happens is he works against Bracy Clark during the whole time he was alive, and the whole time he was in charge of that school. And he wrote his own book on shoeing. He also patented shoes and different things like that. So says so we're going to look at him right here. Okay, so this guy, let's see, how long was he in charge of that school? Quite a number of years. Just a second here. Well, let's just read it. He was born in 17. Now you're going to find, I'm going to explain something to you here. This is where we're headed, just so you know where we're going. I'm going to show you two things that your farriers believe that they were taught, and this guy's responsible for it, that has been destroying horses for centuries. Okay, this is where we're going with this. Because here's what goes on. Whenever they are wrong about the anatomy, then in practice, they're going to do things to the feet. First of all, they ain't going to be able to read a foot. And they're going to do things to the horse's foot that will slowly destroy it. Okay, so this guy here, he was born in 1766 at Burmarsh near, anyway, somewhere in Kent. Son of Edward Coleman and Sarah West. His father was an expenditure treasurer of the Corporation of Romney Marsh. Edward Coleman the younger was apprenticed to Dr. Kite at Gravesend in 1789. He went to London to the Borough School of Medicine, residing in the family of Henry Klein, something like that. Anyway, a surgeon to Guy's Hospital, blah, blah, blah. During his training, Coleman studied asphyxia and gained a prize for an essay on resuscitation, which is weird, awarded by the Human Society, published in 1791. In that year, he started practicing as a surgeon in London. Okay, so he's not a veterinarian. Okay, he knows nothing about animals. He's a medical surgeon. He interested in himself in comparative anatomy of the eye and in 1793 became professor at the London Veterinary College. I'd like to know how. Who appointed him? See, how did that happen? Why didn't they appoint somebody that was more prone to animals and knew more about animals? See here, although he was very ignorant of veterinary science and practice. Why would they appoint somebody like that? You know, probably some nepotistic thing. He held the post for many years and lived in a house close to the college. In addition, he visited Woolwich Hospital once a week. In 1796, he was appointed medical superintendent to the veterinary service of the Board Ordnance Artillery and principal veterinary surgeon of the cavalry. So this guy, he was kissing rear on somebody. I'm telling you that right now, or he had something on somebody. He was buddy up with somebody that was ahead of something because he was not qualified to do this. Okay, the founding head of the Army Veterinary Service. He relinquished the ordnance position in 1816, but remained principal veterinary surgeon of the Army until his death. Anyway, all right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you, he wrote a book, and I found his book, and I found rules that he made for veterinarians in the book. So I'm going to show you that. Just a minute here. Pictures. Might take me a second to find it. Are you? You know, I'm doing this off the cuff, right? I don't plan this stuff. Okay. Okay, here it is. New share. Okay, so this is in his book, and this is rules. This is Coleman's. Clark, he was Clark's arch nemesis. And we might read some of the preface of his book so you can see the nasty stuff that this guy did. And why was that? Because he wanted to write his own book and he wanted to make money and he wanted all the glory. And yeah, he fits right in real good with what's going on in hoof care today too. Coleman's Clark arch nemesis book on shoeing, published in 1798. Now there's lots of bad rules here, but let me tell you that once something gets published in academia, it's written in stone. It's like it was written by God himself. So this guy, being the head of the veterinary school, you know, you got to we just read all the things they use horses for, right? You know, anybody that became an expert in anything had the key to wealth and prestige and riches. You know, if you can, selling books were a big deal back then. They'd only been printing them for a couple hundred years since the 1500s. So it says here, this is rule 5 and 6 that we're going to look at. Now, what I found interesting was that a lot of times they put an F for an S. Euphus. So here we go. Number 5, that the uses of the lamina are to support the weight of the animal and from their elasticity to prevent concussion. See where they use an F? Isn't that weird? Okay, now number 6, that the horny sole is externally concave and internally, is externally concave and internally convex and is united by its edge with the inferior part of the crust. We might only talk about today this part here. This is what all farriers believe. This is what's taught in all the vet schools, that the lamina are to support the weight of the animal. Now, let's look at lamina. Let's take a look at lamina. Just a minute here. This is one of the first, is it the first thing? Yeah, this is one of the first things I came to realize. Well, either this or the sole. First of all, he's totally wrong about what the sole looks like, that it's only concave. Now, where he says convex, he just means when you take the hoof capsule off, you look on the inside, it would be convex. He doesn't mean like what I teach about how the horse actually has a convex ridge of sole growing around the perimeter next to the wall. They taught it was only concave. The sole is only concave, and that the lamina bears the weight. So we're going to look at some pictures of lamina here, and let's think about that. Let me get in here. Now I got to find where I'm at. Just a second. New share. Oh, wait. Okay. So here's your lamina. Here, I'm going to use annotate. We're going to draw it. Hold on. And well, even here, when we look at these 2 feet, we're going to be able to see that both of those rules that they taught your farrier that has gone, what was that? That was in the 1700s, right? And I think they were even believing it before then. Okay, because it might have been espoused by a Frenchman before that, which I got to trace it out, by the name of Lafosse. So where's the annotate? Okay, so do you know what your lamina is? This is your lamina. I'm going to draw where it starts. There's your lamina there. Okay, now let me go back and read this again. Okay, that the use of the lamina are to support the weight of the animal, and from their elasticity to prevent concussion. Now, does anybody have any kind of a mechanical mind at all here? Can you see where this is a little odd? Do you see this tissue as supporting the whole weight of your horse? Anybody? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Yes,
Does
what?
he mean whole weight or just as a supportive
No,
extra?
whole weight of the horse.
I think it'd be painful.
Yeah, I can't see that happening.
No.
Yeah, no, another thing. Now, let's understand something about, okay, you know, everybody here's got a kitchen, right? And we all have cupboards and we all have drawers that you pull in and out, right? Well, you know those things on the side that help the drawer slide in and out?
Yeah,
You know, that's what you call a form of dovetailing.
correct.
Okay. Well, the lamina on the hoof capsule is dovetailed to the sensitive lamina tissue on the foot. How would that support any weight? How would something that's dovetailed, does your drawer support weight? You know, no, it slides, right? See, that's the thing about lamina. It's just a minute. The lamina is dovetailed. Here, let's look at the hoof capsule here, just a minute. See, this is what they do. They pair, okay, right here, you see the sole ridge right here? Okay, this produces a convex sole ridge like this, about an inch in. Only then when you get in under the foot and directly under the coffin bone itself, does the foot get concave. And so the shape of the sole is like this. It's got a convex sole ridge here. And then underneath, it's concave. Now, what they taught was the sole is only concave, like this. It's concave here, but if you were looking this way, you know, that side would be convex, but underneath, it's concave when we look down at the foot. Okay, that's what they taught. Well, let's look and see. First, let's look and see. I'll show you some stuff that they did. Then we'll talk about, you know, we've all had farriers and we've all seen how the feet slowly distort, right? Well, see, this is the deal. Okay, so if I believe that this is supposed to bear the weight of the animal, how am I going to get the foot to do that? Got any ideas? If I believe that bears the weight of the animal, then I'm not going to want the sole to bear any weight, right?
Right.
Okay, so how am I going to get this to bear the weight? Does anybody have any ideas?
By
Hard
using just the hoof wall?
Yep. You pair
Right.
away the sole.
Tear out the sole.
Yeah, pair out the sole. Then you mount the hoof wall itself on the shoe to transfer the weight to the lamina here. And remember, that hoof wall starts growing up here at the coronary band. It connects to the lamina and it slides down as it grows. And we all know that if the wall gets weighted, that the wall slides up too, right?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we've seen the growth
Yeah.
rates that go like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what they're doing then, they're taking away all the support from the bottom of the foot. They're attaching the rim of the wall to a shoe to transfer the weight onto the lamina. And the reason, and so that's constant friction, constant inflammation, constant tearing, but it's all held together with an iron shoe and nails. So the damage is real gradual, you know. I mean, you know that the same people that made the horseshoes made all the torture instruments for the dungeons back in those days too, right?
Mhm.
Isn't that interesting? What a coincidence. Now see why it's not the shoe that's bad. It's the method. See, and the method is based on what they believe about the anatomy. You know, they never, I doubt if Edward Coleman ever pulled a hoof capsule off in his life, you know, and I'm not sure that he got that. He might have got, like I said, I think he got it from a Frenchman before him, which was Lafosse. So I got to trace that out or see if he came up with that. See who come up with this stupid idea first, you know? And so anyway, so both of those ideas kind of go together when you really think about it. Because see, they don't see this sole ridge here. See the sole right here? This is where your wall grows down to here And then right here, this thing right here emits this glue-like substance into the wall that connects the sole with the wall. That's what you call your white line. And have you ever felt it? If you've ever seen it, it's kind of soft and it's like rubber cement. Because see, the sole doesn't have lamina. You know, the wall and this part of the foot have the lamina. They leaf together and then they dovetail and the wall slides down this lamina here. Right here, this emits a glue-like substance into the lamina of the hoof wall that connects the sole to it. Let's look at the hoof capsule. Just a minute here. See, understanding, it's important to understand all this stuff. It's important to understand the history of how these stupid beliefs have been carried on for years. You know what? I've been blaming the farriers. Nope, it wasn't the farriers. It was this, well, not just this vet, okay? These veterinary schools, okay, once you get something in academia, like I said, it's like cement. It's like written in stone. Okay, so now you have all these people, including all these guys in barefoot, you know, all these barefoot gurus and everything, you know, they were all founded in error to begin with. And that is why their understanding of the anatomy is so corrupt and why they come up with the worst trimming practices, because they never knew the anatomy to begin with. And they just make one error right on top of the next because they didn't have a good foundation in the true anatomy of the foot. Bracy Clark was one of the first ones to really start getting an accurate understanding in the anatomy. And his work should have been carried on to see, you know, because he wasn't right about everything either, because he never saw a truly good foot. The foot he thought was the only natural foot. You see, they put these horses in service so soon that they were always shod. From about the time they were 2 on, they were shod. And so he only saw, out of all the horses they had there, he only saw one horse that hadn't been shod for 5 years, that a customer of his kept, a customer friend, whatever, they kept that horse in a pasture. They didn't break it or train it or anything like that. They kept her there till she was 5 years old, just so he could see what a foot looked like that had never been shod. And so he has a picture of it in his book. But the thing about it is that foot is deformed. That foot has hoof distortion from never being trimmed, from living in a soft pasture. Her heels got long and she pulled her bulbs under her foot. You know, she pulled her frog right under her foot and she flared her foot out. So he never saw the feet of the wild horses like what we have here. And I don't mean one dead wild horse that wore its heels out either, but the good wild horses, see? So we're going to take a look at a couple other things, and then we will get into some hoof evaluations and things like that. But every time we come together here, I would like to teach you a little bit more about the history of what has gone on. And I want to put a full paper together or course together on it so that people can understand where these errors have come from. We have inherited errors. And like I said, I always blamed the farriers. Oh, farriers. Nope, it was the vets. Yep, that's who it was. So, because like you say, tradition's bad enough, but oh my goodness, once one of these schools writes something down, you can forget it. See, you got to question the experts. You can't trust any of them. Question. Always get second opinions, always get different counseling. I don't care what it's in, whether it's in veterinary, for your horse, for your dog, for you. You know, we have to learn to question more and not just trust. All right, so let me go find this other deal here. pictures.
Linda,
Yeah,
I'm Angeliki. I
Hello.
have a question.
yeah.
If the wall and the inner foot retains the weight of the horse,
Mm-hmm.
these small curtains should be mobile, that they connect the interior foot to the wall.
It
No?
should be what?
You spoke, they should be mobile. They should be go up and down across the wall. If they should bear the weight of the horse, like the drawer you spoke about.
Uh-huh. Well, see, it just slides down. Since it can slide down, if it gets too much weighted, if the wall is weighted, then it
Yes.
slides up. And we've all done enough trimming to know, to see, like, if you don't trim like your pillars, torque quarters, and they get long, all of a sudden you'll see that this wall starts pushing up and jamming clear up into the coronary band.
Mhm.
So how could just the wall bear the weight? It can't, you know. And
Exactly.
yeah,
We know that the inner foot do not go up and down with every pass of the horse.
yeah. Well, they look
I
at it
mean,
like it's a spring bridge or something, I guess.
Yes. Is it going up and down? Does it move inside the hoof?
No, it don't.
So
Not
how
supposed
can
to.
it bear the weight?
Yeah, because it
You
doesn't.
have,
Well, see, here's the thing. They don't even
you have two different things. One is the wall, which is stable, and one is the foot, which is stable too.
yeah, it is stable. Now that the heels will spread a little and there's some
That's
flexibility.
another thing. Heels are another thing. The wall on the toe, let's say,
Hmm.
it doesn't move up and down.
No,
So how can it bear the weight?
well, they never put any thought into it. Look at that
Where is
guy.
the weight? Is it in the foot or is it in the wall? Because if it is in the foot, the wall should go up at every step of the horse. If it is in the hoof wall, the foot would be up and down every step the horse makes.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? And pretty much when they take away the sole that supports the wall and then they transfer that to the lamina, and then they wonder why they get laminitis, because there's just a little bit of damage each time, a little bit of damage, a little bit of damage, a little bit of damage. And the thing is, the wall pushes up into the coronary band. I've got that one picture I've shown
I
where you
know
can
with
see that it's
the blood.
pushed up and there's blood coming out of that
Right.
horse's hairline from
And
that
I-
wall being so weighted and pushed up.
Well,
you know.
mechanically, it cannot stand because either part should be mobile, the wall or the foot. They cannot slide
Yeah.
every step the horse makes.
Well,
Both of them up and
Yeah.
down.
the thing is, though, by the time they're done paring out the sole, that is exactly what happens. On the one hand, the coronary band is pushing down the growth. On the other hand, they've carved out the sole, mounted the wall on a shoe, and the wall is constantly pushing up. So they are making it. So they have made the wall so that it's totally unstable. But
Mechanically, it doesn't work if
No.
everything moves.
no, it doesn't work at all. They have made the wall completely unstable, as well as they're constantly dressing it down to make it look unflared, so they're even destabilizing the wall even more by doing that. They've made the wall completely unstable, but they're holding it together with iron and nails. And so they got this slow torture device going on the horse. The horse is in constant inflammation in the feet. And of course, that causes all kinds of other problems.
But it looks prettier for the customer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So,
Well,
okay,
thank you,
so
Linda.
so since they believe the lamina bears all the weight, they cannot present. We're going to just look at some pictures here of how they present the lamina. Now, I just look at this foot. You can see that the lamina does not go all the way to the very end of the foot, right? Can everybody see that?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
You can see it grows a convex sole ridge, right? And we've all seen it now because we trim our horse and we've seen those ridges start to grow.
Yep.
All right. So new share, we're just going to look at their anatomy. And again, we're looking at a guy that wasn't even a vet, that got appointed to the school, that was a real creep. And he was a creep. All right. Makes me wonder about his whole study into asphyxiation. And so he put these two rules in here from that vet college, and they have carried down to our time. And so now what you find is they'll never show you a real picture of an animal's foot. They always draw it. Because if they show you a picture of of the horse's foot, you're going to see it doesn't add up to what they say it's supposed to be. So we see the sole ridge on this foot. It's clear. And every single horse has one. All right. So let's see. New screen share. Okay. So here we go. The anatomy and physiology of the horse's foot. Okay. All of these pictures are going to be wrong. Look at this one. I don't see no. Okay. Remember how he said the underside is concave, but this part is convex. That's how it's described. This is just how he describes the sole. Now they say this is what bears the weight of the animal right here. They never ever show it right. It goes all the way to the end. I don't see no sole corium there at the end of the foot. And if you look in the real capsule doesn't have a sole that looks like this. The real capsule, you see how it forms to the rim of the toe here. So this is what they're teaching in the vet schools, and this is what they're teaching to the farriers. Okay, here's another one. See how that does not match up with the foot? The lamina go all the way to the very end. Now, do you understand how a foot like this is going to grow a different kind of sole than a real foot would? You know, if I have lamina that lips up over the edge here, just a minute here.
Linda,
What?
in that picture, aren't they showing that the sole is still down inside the hoof capsule?
Yeah. What?
So
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So they're showing you only where the lamina are, but then if you were to sit that down in there, the sole would actually be still at the bottom, in the bottom of the shoe. You know what I mean? The hoof capsule looks like a shoe.
Oh, well,
I don't
because
know.
hoof capsules look like shoes.
Yeah, but you see where they're saying it's the internal sole, it's down inside. So
Oh, yeah.
maybe I'm just giving them the benefit of a doubt. Maybe by this picture, they're only showing you the lamina.
No, they're not. They're showing you everything. They're showing you exactly what that guy says, hon. Okay. They're showing you a hoof capsule that would be formed and grown according to this. Now the sole ridge goes up here, right here. That's where your sole starts growing, right here. And so it wouldn't just be this way on the inside of here. This would lip up like this to make a little form-fitted rim right here. See? You'll see as you see more. Let me show you the real capsule. Let's look at the real capsule. See, no, don't give them the benefit of the doubt. Okay. These people have been wrong well, not these people. This guy, we have inherited error that has been killing, maiming horses for centuries. So error in anatomy. You can be wrong in a lot of things. Horseshoes and hand grenades, you can be close, but you cannot be wrong in anatomy. Every little detail. See, this is going to grow a sole right here that is like this. Okay. Otherwise, it would just be directly right under there. This little rim here makes a great big difference in what it grows here, because it form fits this sole right around to protect the rim of the coffin bone and the whole rim of the foot. But let's look at some more here.
Linda, when you do a dissection, have you ever been able to actually separate the bottom of the sole in one piece from the lamina?
Yeah. Yeah, it all separates. Well, let's go look at a hoof capsule. Well, let's look at this and then we'll look at some hoof capsules. Okay?
Okay.
Because it's really, really important to understand this. And I'll get some more pictures too on it. Let's see. Where am I at here? Let's see. Okay, I can't remember how to undo this thing. Oh, there we go. Okay. Here we go again. Now this one, it kind of looks like you might have something there, but not really. It's still pretty much the lamina going all the way to the end. Okay. Now here is a real foot, and here you see the lamina, right? What's this? Can somebody tell me what that is?
That's
A
a
sole rim.
rim.
Let's look at it. Oh, great. That's sulcorium.
Mhm.
Now, where does it start? Starts before you get to the end of the foot, right?
Yep.
See it? Every foot is this way. The lamina that the wall slides down to here, right here, this emits this glue-like substance into the lamina of the hoof capsule, which had been attached to this, but once it reaches the end of there, it hasn't got anything to be attached to. So this emits this glue. It's like rubber cement, which is why they can make glue out of bead, I guess, and stuff this rubber cement stuff into those lamina on the hoof capsule, the inside of the hoof capsule, to connect it to the sole that's growing from here.
So that glues the bottom of the sole to the inner lamina.
Yeah. Yeah. And they never even talk about that really or teach anything about it. You know? So, okay, just a minute here. Remote.
Well,
I'm getting lost.
logically then, if their theory was right, you wouldn't need that glue substance because it would all be one piece.
Yeah, exactly.
If
Exactly.
the lamina went right down to the very end, the lamina would be what would be holding it together.
Exactly. And that's why, good, thank you. That is exactly why they draw everything with the lamina going all the way to the end. See there? Look at how they present that. It's only concave.
Mm.
No sole ridge. In fact, that's why they carve the sole ridges. Well, look here at the concave. See? No sole ridge. Here we go. This is in the Merrick, whatever veterinary book. Why don't they have a picture? You know? Look at there. All the way to the end, huh? Oh. Oh, go ahead. What?
Angelique again. And this rim, the concave rim, is the natural shoe of the horse, because the concavity on the sole begins after this rim.
Yeah. Yeah, because you got that convex rim of sole that grows, and then after that it gets concave. So it partakes of two different shapes in the sole. Convex ridge, shaped just like a shoe and about the width of a horseshoe, and then it turns concave as it goes in towards the frog.
Is the material of the sole ridge tougher than, like if we assume that it's natural shoe, like she said,
Mm-hmm.
is it more durable and tougher than the other parts of the underneath the foot?
You know, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I know,
Okay, okay.
because some of the Greek horses have this ridge. So it is harder because it contains a part of the wall, the white line, and a small part of the sole, and then it curves under, but this part is harder to rasp.
Huh, okay.
That makes sense if that's natural shoe.
Yes, it is. They are natural shoes.
Okay. Oh, well, okay. We looked at that one already, but again, there's your foot, lamina all the way to the bottom, and then it shows your convex sole. And of course, they're going to put the shoe right on the wall here after they've carved out the sole ridge, you know. Oh, here we go. And I love this one because this is in Adams and Stashek's Lameness in Horses, which would be like the Farrier Bible, you know, or the Vet Bible or whatever on lame horses in our day. And so why don't they have a picture? I'm, you know, all I ever got was a GED, and I took a horse's hoof capsule off and can show a picture and can see it's got a sole ridge. And look how they draw the sole. See? We know under there it's only concave. And of course, they were careful to make the wall just a little bit longer than the sole. See, this is what your farrier does. He goes out there and he does a pasture trim, and he tries to leave the wall a little bit longer than the sole, so that your horse is walking on his wall all the time. And that's why their feet get bigger and bigger and bigger, like a dinner platter. See, it's mechanical. Now, is this ridiculous? Is it just me? Is it just me? Should they have figured this out by now? You know, we've been looking at feet. We see that the feet have a sole ridge here, right? We've seen horses grow a convex ridge of sole, but they've been trimming it out for centuries, all because of that one Yahoo, Mr. Coleman. Here we go. Here's another one. Dermal lamina. Ooh. You know. Here we go. Here's an older one. And what is this? Laminar tissue. Here, let's make it big so everybody can see. Look, you've got the sole just being concave. Here's another one. Lamina all the way to the bottom because, you know, the wall, the lamina bear the weight. So you're right. You couldn't have that sole ridge there, or that laminar or that sole corium ridge there, because that would mess it all up mechanically for their theory. See, so they have to fudge the science to make their theory look true. And this stuff happens all the time in lots of stuff. And so not to scare you or anything, but now this is one bone with a piece of fat and some tissue, and then it grows its own little shoe, and they can't even get that right. All right. So what else are they jacking us around on? This is why I say you check everything. Now, here's how it's supposed to work. Now, this is a picture showing you where the sulcorium starts, right up here, and it grows this convex ridge of sole. Now, sometimes when it grows, it can look concave, but once you rasp into it a little bit, you'll see this ridge of sole here. Okay, and you see you got to have this big ridge of sole. The wall supports the sole, and it supports the toe of the coffin bone. See? So that right here is where it gets concave, when it starts getting under here. But right here, this is convex. Convex ridge of sole, and about that wide. Right there. And so the wall supports the sole, and vice versa. This all works as one unit, and it all supports the toe of the coffin bone here. Well, they come in and they'll carve that out. See, they'll carve that out like this. Okay, now they're holding it together with hammer and nails. But now, let me ask you a question. When you take this sole out here, to force this sole to be concave and to put the shoe on the wall here, gradually this wall is going to weaken and be pulled out, right? Pulled out. This is lamina. Laminitis is when the wall separates, when the lamina separates right here. Eventually, because they are weakening the wall, okay, the wall starts pulling out, and that's when you get your flare and your separation in here. And I had another picture that shows how then when this gets too thin, you know, your farrier come in there, a lot of times they'll come in there and they'll push on that wall and they'll carve it out until it's pliable and stuff. That was a real popular thing to do for a long time. Well, if this wall separates and goes that way and your foot falls, what do you call that?
Founder?
Yeah. And guess who did it? The belief that came from the 1700s that these guys still got in their head because they never questioned. See? Oh, it's written in academia. It's as if God himself, you know, written in stone. So anyway, let me see what I got here. Okay, now this is in a veterinary medicine at Cornell University, and they did their best. This is a real foot. This is a vet college. Why do I have better pictures? Huh? Why?
Because
You're
you're better.
obsessed. You're obsessed, Linda.
I guess. So nobody's going to notice really that this lamina
looks like a
lips up
ridge.
over the edge there, you know, because they're, first of all, they're already taught that the lamina goes all the way to the bottom. The sole is only concave, and so they're not going to be able to see anything anyway. Okay. Oh, see, and the new ones are just as bad.
That's
See,
a bone
lamina,
foot.
lamina all the way to the bottom.
Hmm.
Here's an old one. The heels were really trimmed out on this horse. See there? His hairline would have been clear down at the bottom. Horn tubules run forward. So, of course, here's some of our barefoot stuff. Healthy. Once you've seen healthy. Yeah, that ain't healthy. Oh, I'm into bad barefoot now. I was that file before was bad anatomy. That's what I call it, bad anatomy. See? So, and again, here's an E-hoof. This is a modern 3D rendition. Lamina goes all the way to the bottom. Okay, so now you know that these farriers and the vets, that now you know why they're so messed up. That now you know why you took your horse to the vet and the farrier and never got no satisfaction. You know, why your horse kept getting lamer and lamer and lamer. And well, then you get into barefoot, you know, and of course, who was that started by? Farriers and vets, you know? So if your foundation in the anatomy is messed up, then everything you determine on what that foot should look like and what you should do to it. See, and what it is we have inherited that. They inherited it from, well, when was that? The 1700s. That's what, 300-400 years ago, right? So this error has been carrying on all that time. And I think it's time to stop. That's what I think. Okay. So, you know, it's not, if I'm going to point the blame at anybody, it's going to be that scoundrel villain, Edward Coleman. See, because all he was in, he could care less about horses or people or nothing. He was interested in making a name for himself and money, and that was it. That's why he badmouthed Bracy Clark all over the place. And it's because of evil people like him that then people down through the centuries have to suffer. How many little one-horse farmers do you think lost their horse due to what the farriers were doing to their horses' feet? What do you think? What kind of position do you think that put that family in? Okay, so that's the lesson in historical anatomy for today. Any comments or questions about that? Are you kind of understanding that this history is important to know?
Yeah, this is totally important.
Yeah,
from my
certainly.
opinion.
You know, yeah, the past matters, you know, because
Yeah,
it's still affecting
absolutely.
us today. And so this is
And
my
I'm-
goal, is to get so that this is annihilated, that this error is annihilated, that it is exposed, and that we can get a correct understanding out there eventually to people of the true anatomy, so that then different methods for these horses can be obtained in the care of their feet to stop this senseless suffering. See?
But they have to be willing to listen and accept it.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't
That's
care.
a problem.
Oh yeah, that's it. But see, I don't care about them. All right, I don't care about them. All right. See, this is the thing. We just will teach the stuff. And you know what? Do you know that people that don't even have horses are interested in stuff like this? Yeah. People that don't, have you ever seen that guy on YouTube, the Hoof GP? He trims cows' feet and he's got over 1 million subscribers. All right. You know that horses are in our DNA, right? So I don't see why we couldn't develop some sort of educational program for the common man. You know, people that never even been on a horse. I think they would be interested in the serial trimming that's going on. You know, I call it serial trimming because people are being taught to trim their horses to death. All right. I know lots of people that have had to put horses down because of what they've been taught. Either because of what the farrier, trimmer, vet, or they themselves did to their horse. Okay, and it's going on in real time right now. All right, so pretty much, decline. Okay, I think you could develop a program to inform the public. and get the public on your side. Get the people on your side. Do you know that that's what Bracy Clark wanted to do? He realized that he couldn't reach the vets and he couldn't reach the farriers. And he wrote his whole book, Hippodanomia, for the public, to appeal to the public. And even though we don't use horses now like we did, you know that people are still interested in animals, right? You got all kinds of animal rights groups and stuff like that. You know that what's going on because of these beliefs is worse than the big lick. It's worse than horse slaughter. It's worse than war. It's worse. It's really worse than any kind of animal abuse that has ever happened to any other animal on the face of the earth. Are you kind of seeing that a little bit?
Yep.
And so I believe that we're on a mission, a mission to learn about this stuff. I'm just trying to explain it in my own nervous words, and stuff, and just show you a little bit of it. When you read, I posted that thing on the group about how many times Bracy Clark mentioned how these animals are suffering. Man, it's even worse now. You know why it's worse? Because you haven't got a professional doing it to your horse. No, they're charging you money to teach you to do it to your own horse. And I see women, especially, that are trimming their own horses, that have the best of intentions, the best of love in mind. And they have been taught to do things that's destroying their animal. And, I did it to mine, and I know there are people here that have done it to theirs, or had a barefoot trimmer do it, or had a farrier do it, or had the vet give the wrong advice, and stuff. And so I'm very passionate about this, that something has to be done, and I'll tell you, I don't care about the vets. I don't care about the farriers. I care about horse owners that want to hear eventually when they're out of resources. And why not try and reach out to the public with something? That's what I'm working on. I got a web page in the development. I got explainer video, animated explainer video that having this company do things like that to try and educate not just horse owners, but the public too. See? And at some point, I've been doing a lot of research, gathering a lot of information, a lot of pictures of just how much suffering is really going on out there. Okay. And the whole process that's going on. And it's also helping me understand how these feet get distorted, and also helping me more understand about how we can correct them and restore these feet. Okay, well, I'm not going to talk about that anymore. We're going to go ahead and go to, I've been talking about that an hour and a half. Anyway, but see, we have to understand these things, now I know sometimes you say, well, it don't matter the past. Well, yeah, unfortunately, the past is up here, banging us in the head right now. So, okay, well, we're going to do some hoof evaluations. Does anybody have any questions about the lamina or anything like that? You want to see any more pictures of anything? Is there anything you want to see inside of a hoof capsule? I don't know. Okay.
I have a question.
Okay, please do.
Sorry for my English.
Oh, you're fine. You're great.
Okay. I understand the tech method in this way, that we let the hoof walls at the back in the foot a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
where the bars end and back to the end, right?
Uh-huh.
Is this okay? And but we don't let the wall longer in front of the bars. The walls, we don't let the walls longer than the sole in front of the bars. Correct? Can you hear me? Hello.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally muted myself. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to know why we weight that wall and we don't necessarily see, we make this work for us. The fact that this wall is dovetailed and that it can actually shove up. All
Mhm.
right, we're making that work for us in the heel area because as you, let me get off of this picture here just a second and we'll talk about this. I think we need to talk some more about why we weight that particular part of the wall and what we are doing. Is
And
that what
I
you're
know
talking
it's
about?
I know it's because yes, the back of the foot get bended under and so on. If we trim off the heels, but I don't completely understand why a higher wall is okay
Okay.
till the bar ends, and in front of it it's not okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so
Okay.
I'll show you why. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me see. Got to find a picture. Well, well, I'm going to get on Megan because we're supposed to do a hoof evaluation on her horse, and I'm sure we're going to see an example that I can use there since every horse has the same problems.
Mhm.
So let's see. Let me go find.
Yes, Simone, I speak German. Simone is asking in the chat.
Oh, I never see the chat. So if anybody talks to me,
Yeah, perfect.
sorry about that. I just never see.
No.
I can barely handle what's going on here in front of me.
No problem, Linda. I just asked in the background if she speaks German.
Oh,
May
okay.
I can help out with the questions she has.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the only reason I ask her, and maybe we can let's talk together afterwards
Okay.
in German. May I can give you some answers.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great. That'd be great.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
have to
Thank
get
you.
together. You're
Yeah.
welcome, Monica.
For sure.
I give you my name for Facebook, huh?
Thank you.
Hey, great. Made a connection.
Yeah,
Good. We all need to support one another.
yeah, of course.
Let's see here. I'm looking for Megan. There she is. Okay, now Megan has something that everyone's going to envy, which is the most wonderful soaking station. Her and Tiffany have built wonderful soaking stations. Let's see here. Open in Messenger. Just a minute and I'll get on her site. Okay, I'm going to let you see this here. Eat your heart out. Look at that.
Thank you,
How
Merlin.
nice is that? Everybody see that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't need it to, I would
What
need
a
it to
great
be
idea.
heated here. It's
Yeah.
minus, we're like 30 below here, so that would freeze, but
Well,
it looks great. It's fantastic.
It'd be nice in the warm season.
Oh,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? Fantastic.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
A bread
That's a
bag
cool
over a
idea.
hoof inside a boot works really well. Fill it with water and let the
That
horse
too.
spread.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this is definitely going to be a good foot to explain this on. Okay, so we're going to take a look at these feet here. I'm going to see if I can enlarge this. I wonder. Aha, there we go. That worked. How about that? Okay, are you seeing the foot there? Am I screen sharing right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so we see that Megan, are you here, Megan?
Yeah, hi Linda.
Hi, dear.
Hi.
Okay, well, since you're here, why don't you just tell us a little bit of history of your horse and everything?
Yeah, sure. I've had Ellie's a 6-year-old thoroughbred. She's unraced. I got her when she was 4, so I've only had her for 2 years. And yeah, her feet, she came fully shod, so she had shoes on the front and the back. And she's 17 hands, so she's very tall. And
Oh,
the horse was sort of slipping down the road on the tar. Her feet were really slipping out sideways. I thought she was going to pull a tendon or something. I knew
yeah,
nothing about shoes or feet. I was brought up as a show jumper and we were taught to ride. We weren't taught to think about feet.
yeah.
But it was obvious that she was going to injure herself. So we took all 4 shoes off. And quite quickly after taking the shoes off, the feet started really showing just how much of a state they were in.
Mhm.
And I had a farrier looking after her feet for a full year and a half, up until September last year. But her feet were getting worse and worse and worse. And it's one of those things where your natural inclination and your want and what sort of common sense is telling you to do, and then the professional is doing the opposite. It
Mhm.
gets to a point where you're just kind of questioning it enough that you make a call to start looking for other resources, which is how I found your TACT site, was because I started Googling, is it a good or bad thing to trim the frog? Because her frogs were just being completely ignored. And she
Mhm.
was very uncomfortable. So when she would walk, even on softish ground, it looked like she was sort of standing on it looked like she was standing on shards of glass. She sort of was tentatively putting down each foot.
Aw,
So that's how I found TACT and your videos on trimming periopal, trimming the frog. So I immediately kind of went out there, got some knives, spoke to a few people who were trimming their own horses, got a bit of courage. I spoke to you,
mhm.
and yeah, just really released a lot of the pressure on her frogs. And it was an immediate improvement in her walk.
Wow.
She just immediately looked better and more comfortable. And since then, that was in September last year. And
Mhm.
since then, I've just been watching your videos, reading, your documents and things, and doing her feet myself. Reza,
Mhm.
luckily, he's South African and he's in Cape Town. So Reza's a big, follower of the TACT method.
Yeah.
And I've worked a lot with you. So he's come 3 or 4 times to kind of keep an eye on me and make sure, because I'm quite anxious to not hurt Ellie or make her feet worse.
Yeah.
It's helped me, say, no, you're doing the right thing. They're actually improving. So yeah, that's where we're sitting now. These pictures we're looking at in front of us, those are from Reza's first visit, which I think was in sort of like end of October last year.
Uh-huh.
So her feet are very different now. I'm surprised how quickly her feet have changed for the better.
That's great.
But yeah, so I hope that's enough of a background.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Great.
And what you said about our frogs too. I mean, the beliefs that they have about these frogs. See, well, I'm not going to get into all that. Okay. We'll be here another hour. I'll be complaining about that. But just the fact that they have to have some supple live growing frog. And so now this is when Reza kind of first came, and so this is when, in September of last year?
Yeah, it would have been sort of probably September, early October.
Okay. And is this now?
No, this is also around October, November. This
Okay.
is one of the first pictures that I sent to you. I think it was one of the first times I contacted you, and you said to me, you see that ski slope developing on her front right.
Mhm.
And you were talking to me about how bound the foot was. That's when I really started soaking her every day for an hour. And it was about a month after this photo that I quite aggressively trimmed the periopal.
Mhm.
And I think that's that's when we really started seeing a lot of change. The images I sent you today in the original sort of batch, those are pictures I took today. And in the
Okay.
second batch are photos that I sent you just to kind of compare. So they're
Okay.
photos from last year.
Okay, I'll just kind of go through these. I'm gonna have to, I thought I started right with the right photo, but I guess I didn't. Even this is this the same foot that we were first looking at though?
No, that's a hind foot.
Is that a hind foot? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that foot doesn't look too bad even there compared to a lot of them. But yeah, you can see how when the frogs are so dead and everything, how discomforting that would be. Like that is just periopal right there. That's not even frog. A lot of times you'll get just this big periopal chunk of periopal growing right there. And we mistake that sometimes for a frog stay, but the periopal grows over the whole back of the foot, and it's just a thin layer over the back of the frog stay. Is only supposed to be a thin layer over the back of the frog stay that is supposed to be growing between the bulbs. But sometimes it can take over when the bulbs and everything get pulled under. You can see right here that on this picture, her bulbs were pulled under. And so when was when was this picture about? How long ago?
So that picture was in September last year. And it
Okay.
was actually a photograph that I took because I was just horrified looking at my horse's foot.
At the
And I
frog
just
and
thought,
everything.
she's under farrier care, and this is how my horse's foot looks. It just
Yeah.
looks wrong on every, and it had shrunk in size. Like the capsule had gone from a fairly normal looking foot, maybe slightly more upright, but nothing severe, to
Uh-huh.
being this sort of almost club-footed hoof.
Yeah.
And the farrier actually said to me at this stage, you might need to consider corrective shoeing for this foot because it's not coming right. And I sort of thought to myself, it's not coming right. It's getting worse.
Yeah.
Whatever we're doing is not working.
Well, not trimming the frog, not trimming the frog and getting all this to growing again. And you can see when it shrinks. See, that happened to me for years. And stuff my feet in the wet season, they'd expand. And I was like, oh, I'm getting somewhere. And then as soon as it dried out, they contract. And that's because that's what this periopal skin does. In the wet season, or when it's more moist, it will expand. And then when it gets real dry, it super contracts. And so something obviously went on. Like she wasn't raced though, was she?
No, she wasn't raced.
Okay. Well, I got to find those pictures that you sent that are current.
Linda, if you could go back maybe just 2 or 3 pictures, please. Yeah, one more. Oh no, we seem to have missed it. There was another one there. It was a very small. We can go back through and see if it pops up. That one. Yeah, so that's the photo of her foot when I took, this is a hind foot, and that we'd taken the shoes off maybe a month before. And I just find that image, I mean, as you can see, I didn't know anything about feet. I was just taking the photo to have a picture of my horse's feet.
Yeah.
But looking back at it now and looking at what her feet look like now, just to see how small that capsule is on a 17 hand, 600 kilograms. I mean, that is not even, it was just this tiny little, it looked like a goat's hoof.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I was looking at some pictures of the whole progression of what happens to these horses' feet when they're incorrectly trimmed. And the heels get trimmed out and the whole foot collapses and starts pulling forward. like this, and the capsule gets reduced, and that whole back of that foot gets bound up into a teeny tiny capsule and stuff. So I know what you mean.
If you look at that picture where that little sort of chunk is missing in the bottom of her foot, and from that way, that like hind side of the chunk right to the heel, I mean, that it's basically half of her hoof capsule. She's standing on the heel wall.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
that's
heel wall.
horrifying.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? You know, it's like, oh, what do I do there? You know, well, what's that foot look like now? Let's see. Let me come out of here and see if I can find the pictures you sent where you said.
If you go up a little, more up.
Okay.
That's the photo just to show you the abscess, but we can look at that maybe. So these pictures there, all of those are from today.
Okay.
I put which foot it is on. So the right hind, left hind.
Okay.
All of those are today's pics, yeah.
I'll start at the top here. Let's just kind of silently go through them first, and then we'll go back.
Cool.
Now that was that same foot, wasn't it? That we were looking at before.
Yeah, that's the one that had the chunk missing.
And actually quite a bit of capsule's been added compared to what it was. Like this was pulled way more down, the cartilage here.
Exactly. And it's, that's obviously there were improvements in the terms of capsule size on her hind feet during the 1.5 years that the farrier was looking after her. But the amount of capsule and hoof wall that's been added in the last 4 months, it's astounding.
That's great. Now, what you're going to find is that and we're going to talk too about why do we weight this part of the wall? Okay. So I'll come back to that after we go through this. And another thing is that you're going to find that as you're adding capsule in and it's expanding back this way, that like before, when you didn't have as much capsule, what you'll find is that your heels would be ending like right in here, and you would think you had sole in the heel. But as your capsule is growing in and expanding, your heel platform gets hollow like this. You see that? But that will fill in later, because what's happening is when these heels are being trimmed out, all this is being pulled down and under and folded over your real heel. Your real internal heel here is being pushed upward into the foot, and then the back of the foot is being bent up over it. The capsule is being pulled up over it. And then it all kind of forms together to form a false foot. And so then when you start opening that up and that whole foot starts to unfold, well, there hasn't been any, this opens up and there's no sole there. And so, but as you're adding wall into the capsule, which I'll show you that in a minute, then this opens up and it hasn't been growing sole for a long time, but it will start growing sole and it will get thicker and thicker until it finally fills up. That'll be the last thing that repairs on the foot, is that new sole will come in to your heel platforms here, and your bars will start to appear better. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, you're still pretty platformed out here, well collapsed here in the heel area, but that'll get better. And see, the quality of the hoof wall will get better too. The more the back of the foot improves, the better the circulation, the less inflammation, which inflammation is tearing of the lamina, and the pressure, compression pressure on the foot, because it's Chinese foot binding in a horse. You can imagine what those women's feet went through. So same thing with the horse. His foot is being all compressed. It's not working right. And so there's a lot of inflammation. And you'll get this real scaly looking wall. Your walls won't be real bright.
Linda, it's
Yeah.
amazing how these hoofs looks like my Benanitra's hoofs.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, they do.
They are identical.
Hmm.
I mean, these hoofs will become better and better and better every day.
Yep.
Because of course the horse is very young, and she has the proper care now.
Yeah. And I see hooves that are healing. Is
Yeah.
what I'm seeing here. They're unfolding and they're
Yes, me
healing.
too. I was looking now
May I
some
ask a question?
photographs of Benanitra past years, and
Uh-huh.
they look identical. Identical.
Yeah, they do. You want to ask a question?
Yeah, can you show the picture before the one we see the horse, the whole horse?
Hmm.
May I ask the owner, is it a picture before you get the horse or after you're shoeing it off, or on which time is it photographed? Because the heels on this picture on the right foot front looking not that bad, or am I wrong?
I've seen
Oh no, on the left you've seen it's okay. It should okay. Maybe it's the same picture from today, huh?
is one of your, do you have a high-low situation going on here? Kinda.
Yeah, so this picture of Ellie is from today.
wait,
And
okay.
she definitely had a high-low situation on her front, but it became a lot worse. The left one really dinner plated out, and the right one really was this upright box foot. Her dinner plate foot is really coming back with the tack method, and we are really seeing a release in that front right foot. But that, to answer your question, that picture is from today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so you got two different feet, one that's collapsed, one where the hairline will like go down at the 30-degree angle, and another foot that refused to collapse and instead curled in on itself. So you got these feet will do one or two different things, or a combination. You know, you can even have 4 different things going on with all 4 feet, but you either have the deal where you get the 30-degree hairline like they want, you know, like they think that the foot is supposed to look, and the wild horse foot, or you'll get a foot that looks like it has heel, but that's not the real heel. See,
Yeah.
that wouldn't
You
be the
see it
real
on the
heel.
bulbs.
Yeah, because this here, the cartilage pulls down flat. This here, it didn't want to pull down, and so it started turning inward.
Yeah.
The
and
two
upwards.
different things. And both of them are fixed in semi the same way, except I think I don't know if sometimes well, we're gonna look here because somebody just sent me a deal on using that DIM material to help support feet.
I have it. I have it on Dodo. That's what it would be my next question.
Yeah.
If it could help, because the shoulders and all the bones in the higher the whole horse on the shoulders maybe could get worse, and the horse doesn't feel comfortable. So maybe the DIM would be a good idea for the left front, huh?
Yeah. I mean, why couldn't you? I don't see no problem with if somebody just wanted to put a temporary shoe on or support for a foot like this.
So I have a new so the English word is missing. Okay, my brain is not working anymore.
Mine
So
never
I have
does.
new okay. So I have new shoes for my horse. It calls from the Equine Fusion. I don't know if you have the company in America too, but I guess, or in certain countries. It's Equine Fusion recovery shoe.
Oh, that
It's a
sounds
horseshoe.
interesting.
That's a very, very good shoe. I do the you know, Linda, the last 1.5 years,
Mhm.
the Dodo is just going with shoes. 1 year. It's
Uh-huh.
1 year. And I do it with a DIM, without DIM, on the hard ground, on the soft ground, and in mud, and in snow, and in rain, and in every condition you can have. So, and these shoes are the very best decision I ever made. So, if I can get an Empfehlung auf English.
What I want to know
Yeah.
is,
So I can send you pictures from Dodo with the DIM if you want to.
okay. What I want to know is, I have a really important question for Megan. Just a minute here. Let me do this again. Hold on. I want to know what kind of blue healer that is. I've never seen one that looked quite like that. Just a minute. It's kind of a joke. Wait. This guy here. Is that a blue healer?
Well, I don't even know what a blue healer is, but that is
Looks like a
baboon.
monkey.
It
Yeah,
looks like a
monkey.
baboon.
Yeah, baboon.
It's
Yeah.
not something you see every day. All right. Maybe, well, you
So
do. You do
we
down
have-
there.
Yeah, we've got our yard is right up against the mountain in Cape Town, and
Uh-huh.
there's a group of about 200 baboons,
Uh-huh.
and they're there every morning and every evening.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, it's quite a loud place to be.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. That's really funny. I just had noticed that, you know, and that was funny. A lot of times we'll see a dog, or a blue healer is a dog. That's like they come from Australia. And that's funny. Okay, well, let's look at these other pictures. And then I'm going to explain about just a minute about why we leave that wall along there, the purpose. Let's see.
I sent you one picture from the 2 pictures from the DIM on your
Okay.
private.
Okay, and see, this is interesting too, because somebody else just messaged me and they put some videos on how to use DIM on the group site, which I thought was cool. Let's
If you
see.
want to, I can do a video.
Okay,
Because
yeah,
I have to use it. I have to use it weekly, and I have to do it weekly new when I change the hoofs. So I have to
Okay.
make a new lift because the bulb's getting higher and higher. So
Okay.
I have to do a new lift.
And
I can do a video if you
I
want to.
learned something too, about, you know, how we were talking about Dodo's hoof, and how I keep telling you, got to take that hook off. That hook on the bar on the heel.
Pardon?
Do you know how I
The-
kept telling you about how you needed to do on those bars? Take that hook off of that bar. I learned something
Yeah.
about that, why that's there
Yeah.
and stuff, which I'll share that later. But
Okay.
okay, so this is the flat foot, right? Is this a front? No, this is left hind. Okay. And looking at back here. Yeah, look, you can really see the difference in these feet here. But look at that periopal between the bulbs on both of them. That's pretty interesting. You know, what would you be adverse to, like, just having one foot, putting a shoe on one foot with some DIM to see if it would help that foot at all?
And Linda, what is DIM?
Oh, sorry. It's this dental impression material, like Riza uses it on real flat feet like that. And it's a support. It's a soft support for the back of the foot and for the frog and stuff, that helps support the frog so that the heels can start to stand up more.
Yeah,
it really
so
works.
what Riza has agreed with me to do is give Ellie another month, because we've seen such drastic changes in this last month.
Uh-huh.
And then his suggestion was not necessarily a shoe, but to put casts on her 3 low feet
Okay.
with the dental impression material inside the casts.
Okay.
So yes, I'm definitely, whatever is going to be the best thing to help Eddie, I will follow that advice.
See, you know, when I'm looking at these, and I'm wondering too, just from some stuff I've been learning lately, is if I don't think it's the end all to be able to get the bulbs up off the ground. You know, I am not against using shoes here and there to do whatever you need to do, but like look at how her foot up here is keeping her sensitive bulbs off the ground. See, so if there's some way, you know, well, whatever you're going to do there with Teresa, and see how the cast work, you know, just so that you can start getting some wall depth like that to get the bulbs up off the ground. Because see, they were never meant to walk on the ground like that.
Linda, can I just ask sorry.
Excuse me, sorry, guys. Can you put some material to lift the back of the foot on a shoe hoof?
Huh?
Sorry. Do you have any idea how to lift the back of the foot on a horse that is wearing shoes?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
I had to ask because I was thinking always about some horses who are shoed.
Well,
wear shoes.
Angelique, can you ask the question again? I'm sorry, can you ask the question again? I don't understand it because the internet was...
That's okay. She's asking me, do you have any idea what you could do to lift that foot up and keep it up off the ground? Well, put a shoe on it.
Yeah, put a shoe on it. Put a shoe on it in the DIM. Don't cast it because you have to change the material inside. You have to trim it weekly or even 2 weeks, but weekly is better. And you have the full control of it. You can put the shoe, you can take the shoe off. You can do a new DIM material. You give the best support and you have the best control of it. If you cast it or if you do the glue shoes on it, you can trim it. You don't have it under control. There are bacteria. They are working on the hoof, and you can't control it. So, for my opinion, the best decision to help to lift you say it right. It's like a lift you put on a car and lift the car up with the DIM material.
Yeah.
So for my opinion and my experience, it's the best. Put a shoe on.
Well,
do the DIM.
You mean a boot, not a shoe? Do you mean a boot, something that you can?
Yeah, a hoof boot. I'm sorry, a hoof
yes,
boot.
because when you say shoe, we're all thinking of the metal nail.
Oh no way, no,
yes,
never,
iron.
no iron. No, I don't
plastic.
mean iron. I mean no plastic.
Take
a
off
hoof boot.
What about plastic glue on? A plastic glue
Linda,
on with an open back.
No, you cannot work on it. That's you remember Ellen asking in the Tech Europe
but you may not need to work on this one that much. Maybe what I'm talking about is if you could just get something so that the bulbs were elevated off the ground like this here. See that?
Just do it with the DIM. It's the best material because the glue from the gluing shoes are not made for hoof capsules. It's not good for hoof capsule because it's a 2-component. I hope it's right in English. It's a 2-component glue. And the glue is not good for the capsule, for the material of the capsule, for the growing, for the moisturing, etc., etc. And you have normally you leave the glued plastic shoes for 6 weeks on, and you know what can happen in 6 weeks, and it's totally expensive. One hoof glued in Germany, it costs you around 120 euros.
Yeah,
And
ouch.
yeah, and this is totally expensive for 6 weeks, and you cannot
Mhm.
work on it, because I have it on Dodo 2.5 years ago, and just for a temporary situation. And I was so unhappy because I cannot clean the hooves normally. You can clean hooves with irons on, you know, you can go on the frog and on the sole a little bit, and you can rub it and clean it. And with the glue, the glue shoes, the platform is more wider and blocks all the mud and all that freaking stuff inside, also stones and something like that. I'm totally unhappy with that shoes.
Mhm. Okay.
The glue
What
shoes.
about if you use an iron shoe with a pad under and the imprinting material inside, and you change it every, I don't know.
Yeah, but how get you the irons on?
The problem is, you have to get a farrier to do all that stuff.
Yeah,
You know, unless
can
you
do it
learn
by
to do it
yourself.
yourself. And unless you learn, like some of these gals, to do it yourself and things like that. But for now, let's just talk some theory here, which is doing whatever you can to give these bulbs some relief, which,
Yeah.
because here's the important thing. You have to get the frog growing to get the full foot to elevate. The frog has to start growing between the bulbs and lifting the bulbs up off the ground to push the heels down so that they're not running forward like that. So whatever you can do to improve frog, which what she's doing, soaking, trimming, you've already seen a lot of improvement in the frogs, and well, they look better already, right?
Yes, of course.
You know, so whatever you can do. If Riza has success with casting and DIM in getting these frogs to start to grow and expand again, you know, because the thing I know is it is important to eventually get even a teeny bit of elevation, you know, to give, because what's happening is the bulbs are being compressed, the frogs being compressed, and so they have a hard time growing, you know. But then again, you know, this all takes time, and you can already see that there's a lot of improvement just from what they've done already, and just trimming the frog, for crying out loud, and giving the foot soaks and things like that. So I think that's a good idea to work with Riza for sure, because he's had a lot of success in getting these heels and things like that to stand up. So, you know, you're on the right track. It's just going to take some more time.
Linda, I have a question.
Sorry.
Oh,
You
go
go
ahead.
for it, Amanda.
So you had mentioned maybe lifting up just the left front and not the right front using the dim. I was curious, if you were to put in, you know, hypothetically, 2 shoes in the front, would you only put dim on the left and not the right in order to lift the left up and create evenness, or would that not matter?
You
Or
know,
would you want to put dim on the right side? I'm just, you know, hypothetically.
yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, you could try doing that on that one too, but the thing is, this foot has at least something going for it in that it's elevated and the bulbs are off the ground. You know, so it's not just smashing your bulbs and smashing your frogs, so it's making it hard for it to grow and wearing it out.
Yeah.
You know, she's got some room.
I have a horse with the same problem. I sent you pictures, except he's much more can-footed. And I was thinking about putting some Duplos on him and adding dim to help him because he's foot sensitive. He has scars on his legs as if he's had some very either abuse or large fights. Not sure what it is, but
poor guy.
it looks like it could have gotten deep, and he has a lot of muscle atrophy on his clubbed foot. And so I would worry about only putting a shoe on his low foot to lift it up. So I would want to give him equal support, because I feel like he would trip and fall if he only had one shoe on. So I guess that's why I was wondering if
I don't know, but this is like, it's already on this horse like he has one shoe on and one shoe off, so I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know. There's not always a perfect answer.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Steph, unfortunately, since we have such imperfect feet and one doing something different than the other one, but I just do, just from what I've seen, I like, even when I had really good success, even was mostly it's moisture a lot of times, moisture, and just giving that a little bit of room, even, just to get that up off the ground even a little bit. Because look here, look at this foot here. I mean, he just flat walking on his bulbs there, and they flat were not meant to do that. And so all that is just being kind of pummeled. It's going to be hard for the frog to grow and stuff, because the frog really was not meant to have constant ground pressure in that way. They always have some ground pressure because, the ground is uneven, but they weren't meant to be totally smashed down like that. And that's the big thing too that Bracy Clark talked about, the false doctrine of frog pressure. How about that? The barefooters, they're 11 to quote Bracy Clark that he was against shoes. No, he's against the method of shoes, but they ain't quoting him on the frog pressure deal that he was constantly talking about, that was the cause of tremendous suffering and hoof distortion. See, so this frog, these bulbs were not meant to walk on the ground. So whatever a person can do to eventually get their walls to kind of support that a little bit, so that it's not just constant pressure on the ground, that would be good.
Linda, could I ask you, in your experience, have you ever had a horse with feet like this that has corrected the pressure on the bulbs without using dim and shoes?
Well, I haven't. Well, I guess my horse and a couple, that I'm not a professional trimmer. All right. I didn't trim a whole lot of horses. So you need to know that right off the bat. At the most, at one time, I was doing about 9 for a couple years. So I didn't have a real wide assortment. And I don't remember at the time, I was trimming the heels out everything and thought this was just fine. So I haven't personally, I don't remember dealing with anything quite this flat, and my horse, when I was trimming his heels out, he did this number here. He never would, his cartilages never would come down and just flatten out like I wanted him to. Thought I wanted him to, got to have that 30-degree hairline. His cartilages refused, and they would always pull back up like that. See, you're going to have, you're either going to get this or a combination between the two of these when the heels are trimmed out. And so I always had a little bit of elevation, so I can just tell you, I know what the foot is supposed to be, but I haven't had experience with every single foot to know exactly maybe how you might restore it. But I do have a mechanical mind. And so when I'm looking at this or I'm looking at this, I'm saying something has to be done to get the foot up off the ground. to give some relief to this area here, to the anatomy in this area. It doesn't have to be high, just so it's not just bottoming out like that. Do you understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I do. And do you believe that if I put something on like a boot or a shoe with this impression material and she gets a little bit of heel and some hoof wall in the back, do you think that will survive and stay there once
Yes.
you do? You don't think she'll
Well,
just, not a postural thing?
Well, here's the thing is that you're just running on sidewall here and you haven't got any heel buttress. So what we're trying to do is get all this to unfold and unwrap so you can start growing real heel buttress and real frog. And that is what's going to support the back of your foot. And so you're going to have to do whatever it takes to give this some relief for a period of time so you can get some growth. First of all, this is going to just, everything you're trying to grow is going to be wearing out, you know, because you have to have, well, you have to have some, even this foot here looks a little better than that one. Is this one really, really trimmed out? I mean, he's really pulled under and smashed under on that foot. I should look at it from different angles.
Yeah, that's her one hind foot, her right hind foot angles out slightly. And I think she had an injury on that side. She doesn't like to weight that foot.
Yeah.
She holds it under her in a strange posture. The posture's changed a lot and she's a lot better. I mean, historically, she used to never stand with that left hind in front, which she's doing in this picture. She always had that left hind back and the front hind pushed under her stomach. So the fact that she's actually changing her posture and her stance is a very good sign to me, like from the body work side and all of that, that she's, and the feet, that she's feeling more comfortable. But I think that that right hind foot, the one that you're saying is so low and flat, is definitely her most problematic.
I got lost here. Just a second. Oh, there we are. Okay, so that's her right. This is that foot,
That's
right?
the flat foot, yeah.
Yeah, and it even looks kind of sore, you know. Yeah, she hasn't got any sole in her heels. You know, a lot of times you can go ahead and just chunk those pieces off that want to break off, by the way, and it doesn't hurt at all. In fact, it helps and stuff because she's wanting to self-trim that anyway and break it off. You see that?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be fancy or nothing else. You just take a nipper in there and just chunk it over. You know, and then rasp a little bit in there and whatever, because they'll break out here. So then, and then their heels will actually stand up a lot of times. So right now that would be holding that heel forward anyway. And so, yeah, she really, I mean, this might not even be real frog. She might have quite a bit of periopal covering here and there. And probably doesn't have any real frog growing in the central sulcus either yet, because it's just flat.
What is quite interesting is that these photos that I took today, I trimmed Ellie in the hoof bath about 3 days ago. And I trimmed those frogs a lot. I mean, there was a lot of material on top of what you're seeing now.
Okay.
One of the photos I managed to kind of get a touch where the apex of the frog is. I nipped into the corium and it started, I mean, when I say it was bleeding, I think I sent you that photo. There was like a few drops, a little full of blood, but it freaked me because I had been quite aggressive in taking away frog material so I could try and get the frog, like just a gap between the sort of like the middle of the frog and the floor. I mean, I can't do anything about where her bulbs are. I mean, that does sit on the ground. I also put little scoops on the sort of just in front of the heels on the wall, the hoof wall, a little bit further up, sort of I don't know what you call it. You call it the quarters, I think, of the hoof wall.
Oh,
Yeah,
here,
there. Yeah,
right in
so I
here.
put little scoops there with my knife to try and to try and help those heels kick back. But what
Yeah.
I'm still hearing from you is that well, maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, but I'm wondering if this process of allowing her feet to do it sort of more naturally might work, but it'll take a lot longer
Yeah,
than if I
it will.
do something remedial like a boot and some material or something.
Yeah, it'll
Mm.
take longer because you're trying to grow it, but she's wearing it out as fast as it grows because she hasn't got real heel buttress, which is what stabilizes and supports the whole back of the foot. This is still just thin sidewall here.
Yeah.
It's not, and she hasn't got any bars because of course the whole back of the foot was where the bar grows, where the bar corium is, had been bent under, and so that was all distorted and deformed anyway. And so she hasn't got her real foot to walk on. And so it's hard to like weight this. It'd be hard to weight this and then have it adding to the capsule because she's going to wear it out as soon as it grows.
That's really helpful for me to hear that.
Boots. I mean, I show that picture what happened to my horse's foot in just 3 days wearing boots with conditioner in his foot. Of course he had a lot more foot than her and stuff like that, but just the way the cartilage even could expand because the foot was kept a little moist and things like that. But then you got to be careful on them boots too, that they're not wearing somewhere you don't want them to wear, because then I used them a different kind of boot that put a big dent up at the coronary band that took 7 months to grow out, which was a bummer. But
And I sent you the
she needs
picture
some
from
help.
the boots that I'm using right now.
Okay,
where
I'm gonna
totally
let's go look at
excited
that
about because
picture and
I
we'll see.
tested a lot of boots in the last
Okay,
year.
well, let's see what you got here. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Oh wow,
And the DIM material also.
man, those are fancy.
Yeah, and these are totally cool because they fit
See,
very, very good. And the material is the over material, the red one is like neoprene.
Uh-huh.
And it's totally soft to the
Wow.
horse's
Those are
feet, and
pretty
the rolling
fancy.
point. Yeah, and the rolling point from the toe is not deformed or something like that. The horse can walk like he's walking on Nike Airs.
Wow, those are fancy. Woohoo!
Yeah.
I didn't even want to know what those cost, but okay. Yeah, those are nice. Do they
you
come?
can use it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to ask if they come in different colors.
Yeah, black and red.
That's cool.
Yeah, and those are made for 24 hours, 7 days using. Also
oh, really?
Especially
now see,
transportation, especially for recovery. That's why they call it the recovery. Recover the laminators. Especially made for this because the company is called Equine They do a lot of very good hoof shoes.
Oh yeah.
And the point from the company is don't mess up with the mechanical hoof function. So it don't disturb the hoof in walking.
Well, that's pretty interesting. Well, let's look at the DIM. Let's see where are we at here. Okay, this is the DIM material, and this is the boots you was using, which those were working too, and there are other boots people can use too if they can't get the equine fusions. I've heard they're really good boots. Now what's interesting here is if barefoot was supposed to be all the rage, right? Well, why are there so many different boot companies coming out now and different, therapy boots and stuff like that? Because people are trimming their horse into lameness and blaming it on what they eat.
Yeah.
So, that's too bad, See, everybody here probably watches YouTube, right? You ever notice all those different commercials? Like, there's the guy that's going to put the air conditioner industry out of work because he invented a magic little air conditioner that you can use economically in your house that cools off your room in 10 seconds. And it was either him or a nun that invented that, maybe both of them. Or, there's all these different products, these magic products that somebody invented that you're supposed to buy, and they're putting some big industry out of business, right? Well, it would be really nice if we could put the boot industry out of business, and just have horses with good feet, right? Because we knew
Totally
the
agree.
anatomy.
I don't know how much money they get last year from from me.
Yeah, from you?
I guess
Yeah.
hundreds of dollars. My husband is always saying, "Oh, another pair of hoof shoes." Yeah, Dodo is destroying the hoof shoes because they're running on the trail. They're
Yeah.
running all the day. They're not just in boxes, not over the night. I don't know how they word in English. My stable is always open. They can always go on the grass and something like
Yeah.
that. So, and he's destroying because I had a little tiny sea where they can walk through, and they use it. So they use all the mud, they use all the water. So they have to be very, very strong shoes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, you
and
can see there where you're out there, Well, this is Megan.
Yeah.
So that's the DIM. Okay. And of course, this is a picture of me taking a hoof capsule off. But you see what's under there. This is what your horse is walking on right here. These bulbs. See, and that's why you got to get them up off the ground so that the frog corium here can start, because I'm pretty sure you probably haven't got any real frog growing in there yet. Okay, because it looks to me like you may have some just periopal growing there, which would be growing from right here over your frog corium. And so, to be able to give this some relief so that it's not smashed, because see, you have to get this part of the foot healing also and pushing up so it'll go in there and push your heels down. Let's see here. Well, you see what happens here. Okay. This is where the back of the foot gets pulled down and the heel gets pushed up in the foot like that. And then if the horse is walking on this, it just smashes this frog corium up into the foot. And so it needs some relief. It needs some air, so to speak. So yeah, this is great stuff. I use this on my pony. It worked really good.
And it's easy to use.
And it's easy to use. And
Yeah.
here, let me show you this other deal here. Wait a minute. Where are we here? Trying to find the. Okay, where are we? Just a second. Where's regular Facebook? There we go. Go to the group page, because there's a couple of other videos on there right now, right here, from Amanda Lewis. She wrote to me earlier, and she's put a couple of videos about using DIM. Let's see, do I have the screen share in the right place? Let me see. Yeah, okay. Just a minute here. Let me close these out here. Okay, oh gosh. Okay, so anyway, there's some videos you could go and see what she's doing there with this horse, because wrote me earlier and told me, see, she has the same problem in that she's seen a lot of improvement on the back of her horse's foot. See, it's great stuff to work with. Anyway, that's something you can watch later. And then, yeah, so any information, more information on that too. And she's using the cast. So, you know, that'd be a good thing for you to look at. You've obviously got 4 different kinds of feet going there, which is usually kind of what happens anyway, to a degree. So I'll show you some stuff about what my horse's foot went through when the frog was getting released and restored from being all smashed in like that. Let's see. Where to go?
And Linda, please don't forget to tell us about why it's important to weight the back heels and not the
Okay. Okay. I'm going to
use.
use a different example though. Let me find a different foot. Hold on. Let's see. Let me find a foot to use. Oh, okay. Okay. We'll just use this foot here. Okay. New share. Okay. So this is Chester, our mascot. He's a wild horse that didn't have his heels totally worn out. And so when I started trimming him, he was wild till he was about 2.5. And so his feet got a lot of movement, and he wore his frog and periopal down so that his foot could expand. See, he had such great cartilages. And but then he got captured at 3, and my neighbor adopted him, and then he had a farrier, and the farrier still let the toe kind of get long and trimmed out a little too much heel. And as that happens, you are trimming the capsule off the foot, and the bulbs in the cartilage, they can kind of start getting pulled down under and or coming out of the back of the hoof capsule, like what you see here. See that? See where the heel is way down here? And so I trimmed him. What happened was, okay, a group member, Sharon Shields Reynolds, who lived in California, he thought the horse had a lung problem and he wanted to get rid of him. And so I wanted to keep him for his feet, but I couldn't afford to really keep him. And so Sharon said she'd buy him because she's moving up here to Missouri. So she moved up here, and I didn't get over it, but she couldn't get up here for a year. So she paid the neighbor to keep the horse. And I went over there and trimmed him like 3 times during that year. And so his foot improved. Okay. And so, but then a situation happened where I was not able to trim him for, it had been about 4 months since I trimmed him because I just couldn't get over there and a bunch of stuff happening on. And then on the day I was going to go trim him over at my neighbor's house, he said, oh, we're taking the horse up to Sharon. And so I couldn't trim him. And then I couldn't go see Sharon and trim him again for 4 months. And she didn't trim him because she didn't really know the horse, and just they were moving in and stuff got away. So I'm going to show you a picture of his foot and what it looked like. Let's see here. After it hadn't been trimmed for 9 months. Just a second here, we'll find it. There we go. This is what Chester's foot looked like after 9 months. And so I trimmed him, and this is what it looked like according to tax specs when I trimmed him. Now, what I want you to notice here, we're going to go back here. Just a minute. Okay, right here, because I want you to see something. Okay, so his foot had already improved regardless. Just trimming him tack 3 times. The quality of hoof wall and everything improved. See that? Okay, but because the hoof capsule got long, it had started kind of pulling the capsule off. And that's what happens. Now, when the capsules get long and start being pulled off from the leverages, what happens is the foot doesn't want to go down that way. All right. And so the foot with the cartilage keeps pulling up. It's just like, I'd always give this example. If I pull my nose over to the side, my nose don't want to stay there, does it? Same with this cartilage. Most of the time, that cartilage wants to pull back up, even if the foot is getting long and collapsing forward and being pulled off the foot itself still wants to stand and be where this foot's supposed to be. Well, here's this periopal skin that goes all the way around the hoof like a belt. And so as this foot is pulling up, the periopal skin is growing, but it's also attached to the hoof capsule that's wanting to come off this way. So I want you to notice something here. Okay, where's that annotate? Just a minute. Let me annotate, draw on the screen. Right here. Okay, so I want you to notice this skin right here, how it's wider here. Now it's supposed to be about right behind there is the coronary band groove, and the periopal skin, it attaches the hair to the leg here, and then it's on the hoof capsule. So it attaches the hoof capsule to the hide on the leg, and it should be the same distance all the way back to about here. See, it shouldn't get wider as it goes here. The reason you're seeing this wider, and this isn't as bad as it can get, is because as the hoof capsule is either being trimmed off or it's being pulled off because it got too long and high with leverages, the foot is pulling out of the back of the capsule, and the periopal skin is trying to hold on to the capsule. And so the skin grows and it stretches and it gets wider here. And that eventually, it can pull all this way down like this. It can totally trim out your hoof capsule to where instead of your hoof capsule, the foot fitting in the hoof capsule, the whole back of the foot is basically almost out of the hoof capsule and covered with big bulb skin like this. And your capsule's been trimmed out like this. And all this is bulb skin up here when it's supposed to be hoof capsule. So we wait. Let me get a different color. Let me show you a picture first, though, of the 2 examples of the feet. Oh, let's see. Let me let me clear the drawings first and go find this other picture real quick. Got too much stuff here on the page. We're going to show you the 2 examples of the wild feet, the one that's anatomically correct and the one that isn't. And let's see, new share. Okay. So here you see an example of the true, more of the true foot of, this is more the true foot of the horse than this thing. Okay, this poor horse, no telling what happened to her. She could have been really, really old. She could have been born in one heck of a drought where from the beginning, she was just wearing her foot out, you know, or who knows. But what you have here is that as the heels wear out, it reduces the hoof capsule to what you see here. And so the part of the hoof capsule now that you have to replace is this part right here. So look at that again. This is a good foot. Why? Let's look at them internally. If we were to slice the foot down the center, this is the frog stay. This is up between the bulbs. This lifts the bulbs and separates like a Playtex living bra. It lifts the bulbs, it separates the bulbs, it keeps the heels from contracting. As the pastern descends onto the digital cushion right here, then the digital cushion descends onto the frog. The frog actually comes down and touches the ground like that. I got a video on it. And at the same time, it's pushing it all back up. Okay, now, if only Jamie Jackson would have found this foot, we would not be here today. We'd all have horses with good feet, with good frog stays and heels. Instead, he found this horse. And so what do? They take this horse that wore its heels out, they cut the foot in half, and they interpret and they decide what the anatomy should be. Looking at this horse here, how much frog does this horse here have? None. See, he's on his bulbs, just like your horse, Megan. And so we're wanting, let's say this horse here, we want to restore this horse's foot. We want to lift, we want to expand the foot. We want to add capsule. We want to release it. We want to lift that digital cushion, and we want to grow this frog like this frog here that's high up between the bulbs. How do we do that? See, so this is why we weight this wall here. So I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to draw on this, or maybe I should go back to that other foot. I'll go back to Chester's foot and draw on it. Let's remember this here. So, okay, so what we would do, let me get the annotate. Now remember, the wall is dovetailed, right? And if the wall gets weighted, what does it do? It jams back upwards. Just a second here. Okay, so this part of the wall right here, if Chester's hoof capsule was trimmed out to here, that's his hoof capsule. Okay, all of this cartilage here, okay, has been pulled down like this. And so we want to add this hoof capsule back in. Well, what we do is we weight this part of the wall. Okay, actually, if he was trimmed out that much from up here, you know, you might weight the wall from here back just enough so that as the hoof wall is growing from here, let's say the coronary band has been pulled all the way down to here. Okay, so we weight this part of the wall because we know that principle that this wall is dovetailed, and that if it's weighted, it will put pressure pushing back up. Okay, the coronary band is behind here. It's growing the hoof capsule, but the hoof capsule is also small, and the periopal is holding this foot back and binding it right here. So what happens is, as you weight the wall, you're forcing the weight onto the wall, and as the capsule grows down this way, instead of being able to always force out and grow past like that, instead the growth that's coming in here starts adding into the capsule like this. And as it does so, it's releasing the foot up like so. And it adds up and keeps pushing up and pushing up as it grows. See, this is why some people think, well, my heels aren't growing. Well, yes, they are, but the growth is staying up here. The growth, instead of pushing down and out like that, instead the growth is staying up here, and it's allowing the back of the foot that's been bound to rise up and come back out like this, so that finally you can grow in your whole hoof capsule like this. And that is why you're weighting this part of the wall, because you're making that wall jamming, and the fact that it's dovetailed, that it slides down this way. Well, if it gets weighted, then it has a harder time just sliding down, and so it's tempted to stay up here, and the growth remains up here, and it releases the foot back up where it's supposed to be, and you fill all this in. Is that, do you kind of understand what I'm saying there?
Yes, but how do you weight it, Linda? I'm not quite clear on how you weight the
Oh,
hoof.
you just grow the wall higher than the sole.
Uh-huh.
You know, like a fourth of an inch or something. You want to grow it high enough to where it doesn't buckle or break, but yet it's still bearing the weight. You know, because if you grow the wall past the sole, then the wall bears the weight, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if I was always taking the heels down to the level of the sole, then that wall, well, first of all, I'd wind up trimming my heels out more and more and more and stuff. So you want to grow that wall higher than the sole and leave it just high enough so that it doesn't buckle, so that it's bearing weight right here. Does that make sense?
And so you don't trim the sole from the inside, you know, so that the wall would be higher than the sole.
Right.
So
the wall.
But do you trim out the sole in the corner, you know, and if you pick up the hoof, so that the wall will be higher than the sole?
Well,
with me is my heels grow and the sole is there, and it's always at the same level. I never have that weighted effect on the hoof, so I don't know how to do it.
When you go to trim, isn't the wall ever higher than the sole?
Not in the heels.
Okay, well, then something's going on there. Because either you haven't got any heel at all, and you've just got sidewall and it's really wearing out, so nothing's growing, or what is happening is the wall that is growing is slowly adding into your capsule up here, and that's why you're not seeing any heel growth, because the wall is still growing. It's still going to grow no matter what. So it's either being worn off, or it could be being worn off and the wall is being added into here and you're not realizing it. Okay. Because let's see here. Let me clear all my scribbles here, because I want you to look at this picture. What happened to him? Just a minute here. Okay. So after now you see here that his skin, let me do this again here, annotate. Okay, you can see that his skin is wider right here. All right, that means that his capsule was partially pulled off, which is the same thing as trimming him out. Okay, now 5 weeks after I trimmed him here, I want you to look at the width. Now this is, I can mark this right here because that's a flap. But I want you to see the difference. How the capsule grew and added wall back into here. It added this back in 5 weeks, and the foot slipped into the capsule. See, you see how this is pulled down and how it's not pulled down now. It's pretty relaxed there. See? Because this is just a flap here. See, what we don't realize, we're so used to seeing this on horses, bulbs, right? What we don't realize is they really don't have those. Okay, they have a full fitted capsule here. Well, his capsule would be, yeah. Anyway, that's what their foot is supposed to be like. It's not supposed to be like this or like this. See, that foot fits inside the capsule. Do you see how the wall was added in right here? And look at the flap. See the flap? That you'll see that happen too. That when wall is added into the capsule, you'll see a flap. And a lot of times when you're trimming it out, you'll see a flap too. I've noticed it both ways. Does that make sense to you? That, you know, after, like I trimmed him down, I'll show you what I trimmed him down to. Just a minute here. Let me take a picture of that. New picture. Okay. Clear. Annotate. Okay, where am I at here? Got too much stuff going on. Okay, so this is after he was trimmed and what I trimmed him down to. And you can see he was bearing, you see, this isn't all the way down to the sole. There, he's still got some wall here above the sole from here to here. See it there? And so because he's bearing weight on that, and because it's moist here, see, a lot of times too, because it's moister here, you get better reactions. Because this part of the wall is weighted, then as he went the next 5 months, it added wall in here. It was growing from here, but it added and stays up here. See, that's what you want. You want, if at all possible, the wall to stay up there. And so if you are not experiencing heel growth, that either it's getting worn off or some of that growth is adding into your capsule already, because you're not trimming the heels out. See?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a picture, any pictures we can look at?
Well, I sent you some pictures of my mare a few days ago.
Okay.
Okay,
we could look at a picture. Let me finish with Megan here first.
Trimming, I trimmed her on Saturday, and what I found is what we talked about today in the chat, something about the side wall right in front of the heel, that should be trimmed to the sole, because it's side wall, it's not letting the heel go back. So in this case, in this photo that I can see at the top, you know, the solar view, can you point with your pointer what side wall should I trim off? Yes, there, right in front of the front of the heel.
Okay, sometimes
if that was flared, I'd have to trim it right to the
right. You would want to take it down, because see, here's what happens too. All right, because let's see here. Let me annotate and show you something else that goes on that people have a hard time with. Let's see. draw. Let's do the line. All right. So when your heels are low, all of these horn tubules here, instead of being in alignment like they are here with him, they wind up forward like this. Okay. So you've got this low heel, and then as it's growing, all right, well, this horn tubule here is starting to come back. And it'll come back to where eventually, sometimes they'll move back to where they get so that they've made this area here a little higher and longer than it's supposed to be. Just a second here, to where then you got this deal here like that. Okay. And people aren't noticing that these horn tubules are kind of coming back, and they're winding up letting this little area here get high in a bad way. Because even though we're growing these heels, we still have to take this stuff down on occasion as this other stuff is moving back and into place. Because what happens is, let me clear all this drawing. Just a minute here, is these horn tubules, they can get, like, it's only like this section of hoof wall. Okay, this is it's only got a certain amount of hoof wall that's supposed to be in this section, and it's supposed to be right there. But when you trim the heels out and all those horn tubules are forced to grow forward, you can have this same section of hoof wall that is right. Oh, you silly thing. What happened to you? That is like this. Okay, now, do you see how this section here has more hoof wall in it than this piece here?
Yes.
Okay, so what you're not realizing is as you're growing these heels in, that it's affecting all this here. As it's kind of lifting this up, well, this piece here is kind of all this, and that would include what's back here. It's all starting to kind of move back. And since it's longer, like if this piece just moved back and never got trimmed off, it would look like this.
You can,
See?
I just sent you pictures of before and after the trim, so that you may be able to see it better on my hoof, because I think that's what's happening to her.
Okay. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Are you understanding kind of what I'm saying here?
I am.
And so even though we want to weight this most of the time, we still have to be paying attention and on occasion take it down, because all this other stuff is moved into the area.
Yeah, if you look at the pictures that I just sent you, I think you can see exactly that. Exactly what you're saying, I think.
Okay. Just a minute. I'm lost. Yes. A1, whatever. Okay. Let me take a picture of this little thing here. Okay. Okay. Just a second here. Okay, let me unannotate, clear all drawings. Okay, reshare. All right, we're there. Okay.
The hinds. At the top is on Saturday, and at the bottom is before trimming. But these are the hinds. I think you can see it better in the fronts, which is the next picture, Linda.
Okay.
Where you can see the flare, not the other one.
What do we got?
Shoulder view. That's also the hinds from the lateral view.
Okay.
The fronts from the lateral view. At the top is the trimmed, and at the bottom is before.
Okay.
And the solar view, that here, see, for example, in the top right picture, that is that is what
Okay.
you just said.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you just said.
Yeah, that is exactly what's happening. You see how that just sneaks up on people? And then it gets there and they're afraid to take it down or don't know if they should take it down or what's going on there. And so then it becomes a lever, which is holding your heel right where it's at. And so, you know, a lot of times we have to do what's called well, not a lot, like every 3 or 4 trims, you do what's called a reset, which is where you sometimes you'll even take the heel down more than you normally would because the whole thing is changed and moved. And see, now your foot is the good foot to do the example on too, of the growth that needs to come in up here to lift all this up and come in and make the hoof capsule bigger. See that?
Look at the optical illusion, because the hoof underneath
Mhm.
it was before trimming, and I didn't touch the heel. So the heel length is exactly the same and it looks longer.
It sure does, doesn't it?
And I really didn't touch the heel at all. And if you go to look at the last picture, which is the solar view, you can see the flares. The next picture of the solar view of the fronts. No, there must be another one. Another one. That one. At the bottom is the trimmed version. Can you see, look, on the flares on the sides right in front of the heels? See that one is all flared? That is which one? Yeah, that is the one that we were looking at. That was the one that we were looking at. On the bottom left corner is the one that we were looking at before at the top right.
Okay.
Look and see the flare that's coming out there. That's what we could see, that you said that you know, like you were saying that it was not letting the heel go back. So I should trim that out.
Well, that and your bars too. Your bars need to have a little more off as well. Because this is all pretty much false bar. Like what happens is, as the foot is being trimmed out, the foot is being wrapped around, like in this way. Like, see how your heels curl in like that?
Yeah.
And so you need to also work on your bars.
I didn't know how much to trim off. I painted the lines and I trimmed the lines, but I didn't know how much more to trim off.
Yeah, you could probably take off anything that has a dirt line under it. Say, because what happens is this all grows and then lays over sole, and there'll be dirt in between it and the sole. And so these are big, heavy duty bars that developed from the heels being trimmed out. I was looking at a whole progression of a trim that took place over a year, and how these bars can develop like that. Because it's not the real bar. This is all excess, deformed, weirded out bar that's growing from deform. Well, the bar corium is right here, and so the whole foot is bent there, right? And so this is excess bar that grew that you thought was just normal bar over the years, and so it's actually just distorted, deformed excess bar. And if you don't start trimming it down, and see, this ain't your real heel, this will be all exfoliatable, flaky sole, because your true heels are buried under here. But they'll come out someday. Let's see here. So yeah, you can take off quite a bit more of that there. And I'll help you more with that too. But see, anything where you got a dirt line or it's big heavy, let me show you a picture. Just let me show you some of the trims I've done on my bars. Okay. And you don't have to do it all in one swoop, but you can start working that out and start cleaning it up. Start cleaning it up more. And getting up around here, you know, getting some of that out of there. Things like that. Now, where do you live?
I did try right at the bottom, see?
Yeah, I
to get
think,
rid of
yeah,
it.
you are doing good. You're getting there.
Very
You're getting
difficult.
there. It is hard. And these bars look like they're made out of iron,
Yes.
you know? So, and then what'll happen is because they're so big like that and laid over the sole, it's going to be thin underneath there. You're going to have thin sole underneath there, which I can show you what that looks like too. So I was just going to show you some, where am I at here? Well, I can show you. This was actually a good foot, but she had weird pillars. But we'll go ahead and just look at the bottom of her foot on this. So you can see what the bottom of a foot looks like.
You need to share a screen, Linda.
Oh, sorry, thanks. What would I do? Let's see. Share. Share screen. Where are you? There we go. Okay. Now I wonder if, okay. Okay, that's working, I guess. Okay, so we see what the foot looks like here. And so we're trying to have everything relatively so that it follows the shape of the foot, and the bars are not, see, the bars don't go clear up to here, and they're not real heavy. And like this horse, she needed a trim on her bars, as you can see where it's cracked here. Okay, but still she didn't have too bad a bars. She actually had a really good foot, a little overgrown here and there. But I'll show you on my horse here, just a second. If I can find something. Ultimately, what you're kind of trying to aim at, but it takes time because you're growing it. You're not just trimming it, but you've got to start removing stuff that has, just a minute and I'll screen share, that has infringed on other parts. See, that's the whole thing about these feet. One part overgrows onto another part, you know? So ultimately, you know, your bars don't go much past that and stuff. And so ultimately too, we're looking to eventually get the sole growing so that it's a little smoother and doesn't have a whole lot of lumps and stuff like that. But I'll tell you this much too, when your heels are trimmed out like that and all the back of the foot is pulled on, it's compressed the sole in that one area, and it's also covered up the sole that was back here. Like this foot, this was 11-19, and I thought I had a good foot. And look, I had some nice sole right in here, and I had been working to get that. Well, come to find out, that wasn't even the real heels. His foot was still bound. Look at how the heels turn in like that. Okay, come to find out, because here's the thing. It looked good from here, but when I looked at the side and at the cartilage, it was all rounded up. And so I knew that was not the true foot. And so I started trimming the frog a whole lot more, and the frog released and opened up the whole foot, and the heel started coming back. Now look how full the sole is, look here. But now look how the sole is thinner here. That's because as the foot was expanding, it's uncovering heel area that was covered up previously and had not grown sole for a long time. Let me show you here. So see how deceptive these feet are? You know, I thought I kind of arrived there, but I guess not. Let me show you some other pictures here. Just a second here.
Yes, it really looks good.
Yeah, I know. I
I
was
would
like,
say that's
I was
the perfect
satisfied with that, you know.
I'd be happy with feet like that.
Yeah. Well, I'll show you what it looks like from the side. Just a second here. Let's see. Okay, so, oh, wait a minute. All right, from the side, it looks like this. Just a minute here. More screen share. From the side, it looks like this. Do you see that?
Yes.
I knew that wasn't right. It looks really good from the bottom, you know, and then that was 219. Then in 21, I had this going on. I mean, how different can these feet get? You know, you see why? What is the true foot of the, will the real foot of the horse stand up? Okay, what was that? What was that show? Was it to tell the truth?
I think so.
Yeah, they had a panel, and then they had 3 people, you know, that said, I invented the nuclear bomb. No, I invented it. No, I invented it. And then they had to ask them questions to find out which person really it was, you know, and then they'd say, will the real so-and-so please stand up? And they would see if the panel could guess who the real person was. Well, I'll tell you what, will the real foot please stand up? And so, and this is where I started seeing these cartilages really expanding, you know. So let's just look. So there we go. There's the difference. Okay, that's when I thought I had a good foot, but it was actually like that. So when we look at feet, we're looking up here first. What's going on up here? This is the truth teller up here. But then again, what's that supposed to look like? Well, it's supposed to look like what Chester's foot looks like. Let's see. And of course, his foot is completely different than this now. You know, just a minute here.
It's even changed color. The pigment is different.
Oh, well, yeah. And here's the thing. He originally had gray soles and black feet. And now he's got multicolored striped feet and white soles. Because trimming the heels out and constricting that whole foot changes the pigmentation in the foot. Let's see here. Let's just see what we got. And you know, I just kept working on it to get all this to expand. And see the bars there, what I'm doing with the bars? That you have to start getting these bars into a different boundary so that they'll release the back of this foot, and the frog and the whole foot starts to expand. But it's a process of growth too, you know, and healing, because these feet are healing and moving internally as well. Like here's an example that I did. That's 821. This, okay, just the difference. And it's getting longer. I mean, frankly, I didn't like the way that looked. you know what I mean? But I was just learning what was going on, you know, about this cartilage. I mean, look at this. See, and here's what happened in the wet season. This would all expand out. And then in the dry season, it'd all crinkle up again because it wasn't the real foot, you know. Now here, it's even different, getting some different kinds of frog. See, this is all trying to get all this released. Now look here. See how I'm up off the ground? So that this could do something, cleaning out this periopal that was between the bulbs. And I feel that that is way more important, and that you have to be very careful about releasing periopal here. But that you can work on between the bulbs. I mean, I believe you have to do it in a controlled way, and that we have to learn to read these feet better, because you don't want to take a really bound foot and just release it all, because there's nothing to release it into, you know. Then you wind up like what happened to Dodo there, because they had a real wet season and his foot was bound, and then his foot just went right.
Yes, of course.
You know, so this is just
It was quite horrible.
you're just seeing some of the stuff that that these feet went through an unbinding. See, the frogs and everything else. Just some of the stuff, because see, the bulbs get wrapped up into the foot like this. Well, look at it. Look how it's twisted around there. See, when that's what happens to these feet, this wall starts twisting around in here like this. Well, then you're shaving the heels off as it's going. And then the hoof capsule gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Actually, yesterday I saw a shod horse, and I picked up his front feet, and he had a tear right in the heels, you know, of the periople.
Yeah.
I have to take a picture and send it to you, because it's exactly what you're saying, that the hoof actually curls under, but in this case, it actually tore the periople, and you had like two big lines on the sides of the heels. It looks as if the hoof was going to break in half. It was horrible.
Wow. Well,
so I will take pictures of that, but that is a shod hoof, contracted heels, absolutely awful.
Oh wow, yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I'll take pictures as soon as I can, and I'll send them to you, because it's really interesting.
Okay. So here's in 2012 when I was trimming the heels. Now that's the same foot. See? And that's exactly what I was showing you earlier about the capsule is actually truly trimmed out. Where is it here? Annotate. Remember, I said your capsule in reality, okay, is like this. And then your cartilage is all pulled down and around, and you got this big wide bulb skin there. See it? Okay, that's not, now look at how different this was in 2016, because in 2015 I was growing heel, but not because I knew we should grow heel, but because I thought I had underrun heels, and that to get them to stand up, I had to grow them, and then I would cut them off again after they stood up. How stupid is that? Thank God I found out that we were trimming the heels out before I cut them off again. Because see, that's what happened to my pony. I grew her heels out, and her foot was looking really good, and then I went, okay, time to chop them off again. And it was like the point of no return after that. She's still not fully corrected. I'm glad I didn't do it to Valor. So, but you know, she's had severe founder and stuff like that, mechanical founder, all right, from trimming. So let's see here. Clear all dry. So we're adding all this capsule back in and releasing the whole back of this foot. Let's see, undo. Clear. You know, just to show you some of the weird different ways the feet are, and you know, this is definitely not easy, but we're getting more and more so that we are getting a handle on this. Like now this, when the whole frog moved, the sole turned this color. You know why? You're going to see that too sometimes. Now look here at the sole ridge. You can see right there. Why is that? Because it's like a sock. All this was pushed forward, pushing on the frog corium, pushing on the sole corium. So when the frog and the bulbs release, it's like your sock kind of gets pulled back on. And he was never ever sore when it was that color either. And we've had some other people posting pictures. See that? Now, I didn't do anything to really cause that, except that this frog was moving and he was never sore during the whole time. So see, different weird things happen as you're releasing the back of this foot because it's been compressed and bound up. Okay, now, finally, look what's happening here. This frog that has been smashed up into the foot for a long time has finally, the frog corium is finally kind of released right there. You know, what must it do to these feet to have all this cartilage and everything all smashed up in there? This was, oh, What is this? Yeah, okay, so this is when I was really trimming the heels out. And see, my horse, he didn't want to have a 30-degree hairline. His cartilages would keep pulling up. Yeah. Anyway, just some different things that his feet have went through in trying to understand. Look here. This is how much difference can happen in a couple days. There's the cartilage there. This is where I had a boot on him for 3 days in conditioner. All right. Look at all this cartilage. If it gets pushed up into that foot like that, it's going to deform everything. It's going to push up on the coffin joint. It's going to rotate the coffin bone down. It's going to push the hoof wall forward. Look at the dish in the wall. But when I trimmed out that hard periopal between the bulbs and put conditioner and a boot on the foot, look how the back of the foot expanded and released. And not only that, what happened? The heel straightened out and the dish came out of the wall. So something's going on with this, what goes on when these feet get bound up like that and all crinkled up like, you know, a Chinese geisha girl, where they bind their feet and put them into little tiny, you know, shoes and crinkle their toes and everything like that. See, here you go. There's three, what? From the 21st, I did this experiment in 2020 to the 24th. That's how much that foot, the cartilage in that foot expanded. And look at the shape of the hoof capsule, how it changed. See, these feet are way more elastic than what you think. My husband has a game camera set up in the house. He's showing me pictures of myself. He told me earlier, don't be walking around naked. He's trying to get his game camera working. I went, oh, don't worry about that. I won't. No way. Okay. Let's see. All right. So anyway, just shows you how flexible the back of this foot is. Now there's Chester's foot when I first started trimming him. Look at his cartilage. That wild horse had such tremendous cartilage. That's why I wanted him to be preserved, somebody to buy him, and Sharon bought him so that we would have an example of the true, more of a true wild foot, what it's supposed to be. And this is a couple years ago when I was still trying to figure this out. What is the true foot? You know, what is the true foot of the horse? That foot, this foot, that foot? Well, it's the internal foot. And this matches the internal foot. Now, I'm going to show you something here. Just a second. Let me... And we'll probably end with that. And if you have any more questions, I don't care. I'll stay here all day if you want. But let's see. What am I looking for? Okay. Okay. Cartilage.
I guess you want to look to the inner foot.
Yeah, and this. Okay, here we go. Looky here. Okay, so here's your inner, or wait, new share. Okay, so here's your inner foot. Okay, now don't let this deceive you that this is how the foot, when you take the hoof capsule off, the back of the foot drops. That's how much the heel buttress is needed to prop this foot up. Okay, so, and the angle, I'm a little bit forward. So the shape of the foot is a little different than this. Okay, this is the foot when it's skinned. This is the foot when it has the skin on. You know, all this is skin, right? When you take this off, I have feet that have turned to leather. This turns to the same leather that this turns into. I have others that turn to rawhide. This turns to rawhide. Like this turns to rawhide. This sole corium turns to rawhide. This is just skin covering a foot. All right. So this is a whole unit. Well, if we take the skin off, here's what we get. Now your heel buttress grows right here, and your coffin bone ends right here. And so your heel buttress is right here. And so that heel buttress props this up and stabilizes the whole wall in the back of the foot right there. And so as you're trimming this out, this has to do something because it's attached to that heel buttress. And so all this starts to deform. So extended, this is what it looks like. Fully extended, your cartilage looks like this, and your heel buttress is pretty big. It's at least like that big right there. Now look at, I got this on this mat here. It's got some measurements here. Now what happens as you're trimming the heels out, it pulls this, starts pulling this down, but then because of its shape, it'll start turning inward like that. And of course, since you're trimming the frog out, because what happens is that frog is getting stripped out of the foot as you're pummeling it to the ground. And so it starts being pulled down like that, but then see how it turned inward like that? It starts turning inward like that. And so now your heel buttress is gone because it was growing from right here. I'm not so sure sometimes that part of these heavy duty, weird looking bars isn't really actually heel buttress. You understand what I'm saying? If your heel buttress grows from here and it's supposed to be back here, look, there's where your heel buttress grows right here. Well, where's it at now? Oh, it's under here. Look, it's here somewhere. Okay, what if it's actually growing and becoming part of what looks like a bar but isn't? You know, some of these really heavy, weird bars, maybe it's really heel buttress that's just been up under the foot like that. Okay. Now, look here. Now, remember, your heel buttress was growing back here, but these can bend clear into here, and your foot can become this size. See? And of course, I've taken the digital cushion out of this part of it and stuff, but then all that was under there, the frog corium, the digital cushion gets pushed up into this coffin joint here, which rotates it and makes the toe rotate down that way. And so you got a hoof capsule that wants to grow this way and a foot that wants to go that way. And you just got a mechanical mess going on here. No wonder horses are crippled, right? And so that's what it looks like. So your bars grow inside there and your buttress grows here. So when all this gets pulled in there, what's going on there? You know, it's not the real bar. You see what I'm saying? But as this is happening, it's been happening so slowly and so gradually that as the person is trimming, they're just trimming it like it's normal. And so they're actually forming, by their trimming, a false foot. And it's not the real foot at all, but nobody even knows this is happening. Nobody has ever known that this was going on. See, and you see how heels get contracted, or a lot of times too, the foot will spread real wide, or it'll contract, or it'll, you know, do something in between that. So that's when you get feet like, let me just get the standard old example here. Just a second. Anna, where are you? Where are you, Anna? There you go. You see how what I just showed you with the anatomy internally is exactly what went on here? Okay. Anyway, any comments?
There's one question on the chat, Linda, from Jackie,
Okay.
because I guess her microphone doesn't work.
Okay. Ben's like that because Jackie. Oh, hi, Jackie. Or is it something else? Let's see. I have a question. Look on Messenger.
It's Jackie Schroeder.
Okay. Is the reason why the cartilage bends like that, is it because the bars or heels or hoof wall trimmed out and because there is no bone in the back? Yeah, that's exactly right. Here, let me show you a picture. Another picture. See, see, once you just start figuring this out, just how much of this foot is not bone. See? Okay, well, here. There we go. Just a minute. New share. Okay, here we go. This whole part of the foot is soft cartilage and fat. All right. And so you see here on this foot here, I took everything out but the coffin bone. That's the only solid part of the foot. And so you see on this capsule, you see you got a frog here, and this horse had a big frog and a frog stay. But as all this is being bent in and under, that gets kind of pulled out from between the bulbs. Well, then that gives the foot a lot of room to compress into itself. See? And then what happens too is the capsule gets smaller. And you know what I was thinking the other day? It's like that deal where the frog, you put that experiment they do, or they say, I would never do that, where they put the frog in, tepid water and then slowly bring it to a boil, and the frog doesn't even know what's happening. Well, that's kind of what happens to the horse. He just gets a little trimmed out, but then he starts getting inflammation. You can see it. You can see it, the progression in the horse's face as the feet are trimmed out. You can see it. You can see them go from looking pretty happy. See, and this is what happened to my horse. He loved to run. All right. He was just trimmed by a regular farrier. Well, he wasn't hardly trimmed at all the first year. And then he was trimmed by a regular farrier the next year, and then kind of had a deal, and he didn't come no more. And then and that horse loved to run. I mean it. He's got a lot of thoroughbred in him. And as I barefoot trimmed him, he just quit loving to run. We noticed those things, right? And I couldn't understand that, because they promised you all you have to do is do this, that, the other thing, and whip on a Mustang roll, and your horse is going to have horse like a wild horse, gravel cruncher. But that isn't the way it turns out for a lot of people. And that's why there are so many more boot companies. There were maybe one or two here, 30 years ago. Now I couldn't even name them all. Why is that? Because they're crippling horses. They're foot binding them, they're crippling them, they're trimming the feet out of them. And so anyway, so you see how that can happen? Now look here. This horse was a blind horse. Well, he turned blind. They had to put him down. And because they couldn't take care of him. And he was out on maybe a 40-acre pasture most of his life. He's 8 years old, and he had almost perfect feet. This horse, this is not the same horse as this horse here. Okay, but he had, really good feet, and he was never trimmed. Lucky for him, right? Lucky for him. So, okay, so any questions about that? Anybody got any comments they want to make or anything? No.
Well, I think I'm Angeliki. I think we'll need 2 or 3 lifetimes to to finish with Hoofs, because I mean, if we have to prove all these things, Linda.
Mm-hmm. I got all the pictorial proof. I've got all the pictorial proof that's going to be put together. Okay,
Yes,
beyond a shadow of a doubt.
You understand, whatever you say is right, but if we have to see some horses, like their hooves to prove what we are talking about in theory, we need 3 lifetime.
Yeah, I know what you mean and stuff, but it'll come together, you know.
Yes, I think
and
so.
stuff, it'll come together. Yeah. And you see, I got this line drawn here to show you just how much, you know, that the foot can be reduced in size that much. And we don't even see the full size of this foot. It was massive. Yeah. See, there's their foot. This is their whole foot right here. It isn't just from here down, from the hairline down. You know, that's why we read the cartilage. We have to understand just how massive and big the back of this foot is. And you don't see one horse hardly that has a anatomically correct foot. They're all bound up one way or the other. You know, they're all deformed one way or the other. It's amazing. Anyway. Okay. Well, anything else? Let's see what else we got here.
Thank you very much, as always, for what you are doing.
Oh, hey, I'm loving it. Yeah.
Hey, Linda.
Yeah.
This is Roberta.
Hi, Roberta.
Hi, dear. Hey, when after you wash the hoof capsule and you see a rise, or what I call a bump, in the hairline coronary band, would you address that first before you go filing your hoof wall, before you actually do a trim? Would you address the bump?
You mean like the wall is jammed up? Like, look here,
Yeah,
here's the coronary
jam.
band, and there's
Correct.
a rise like
Yes.
that. Okay, well,
Correct.
it depends on what the rise is about. Because if you had a relatively normal foot, but it just got you just had hoof wall jamming that made the hairline rise up because the wall got pushed up.
Yeah.
Well, then you could relieve it, or, you know, relieve it at the ground and it would come down. But here's something else that happens. Look at how straight this this coronary line here is, okay? But look how it's kind of curved here. Okay, sometimes it's not wall jamming. It's because the back of this foot has been pulled down and it's literally bent the coronary band. So you could be relieving it down here, trying to get that jamming or that curve out, when in reality it's bent, and that's not going to do you any good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I've got bigger issues than a jam, so it's so much goes together with all this, but yeah. Okay.
We'll get it all together. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
The more we understand, it becomes like tying your shoes. You know, remember how hard that was?
Yeah.
You know, now look, boy. I hear somebody barking.
I hear somebody.
Okay.
Linda, Jackie has a question on Messenger.
Okay. Or in chat or in Messenger?
She said Messenger.
Oh, okay. Here's well, she has another one here too. Here's another question. Would you take down the bulbs and the frog a little? Or what would you do? Please check Messenger. You're gonna make me go there, aren't you? Okay. Well, let me see here. Where am I? Jackie is a new friend, and she's pretty sharp. She wrote to me yesterday, and she said, I took foil and I made. She took foil and she put it around her horse's foot, and then she took paper mache and she covered it with that so she could see exactly what was going on with her horse's hoof capsule. I thought that was pretty darn ingenious. And then she also did drew some markups on all of her horse's feet of exactly how she did all the mapping and stuff like that and drew it all. And I was like, oh my goodness. I mean, she was so detailed. I was amazed. Let's see. I'm trying to find where I'm at because you got so many windows here. Oh, okay. Okay, I see there. Okay. What is going on? Okay, there we go. Just a minute. I'm finding my way here. Okay. Okay, I see what's wrong. I enlarged my screen so big I don't know what's going on. Okay, there. I'm trying to find you, Jackie. Okay, well, I'll show you the little hoof she made here. New share. Okay. Oh, well, good. She says, could you show this on your Zoom meeting? This is what I seen in Red Star's hoof. And that's what else I am seeing in other horses' hooves also. I would like the class to see this. I'm trying to assure myself, and I'm trying something and you're not hearing me. Probably I'm not. Well, that's pretty interesting what you made there and stuff. I'm not sure what you were seeing, but you put, oh, look, she put all the lines in it and everything. See, she covered it with paper mache. That's pretty cool. That would, so a replica of the outside of the hoof capsule. That's pretty neat. But I'm not sure what to say. Anyway. Oh, but she's going to tell me, I'm sure. Wait. Okay, we're waiting. We'll wait and see what her question is. We need some music. Da 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 da. Da 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 dun 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 dun.
Drum roll.
You better be hurry, or you're not going to get your question in there. Type it out, like spit it out.
Linda, can I just jump in? And
yes,
it's already 11:15 here, so I've got to jump off the chat, and I'll watch the rest on.
Okay.
YouTube. But I just wanted to say a very, very big thank you for all your information and guidance and help with around Ellie's feet, and yeah, I've got a lot to think about.
Me too. me too. You know.
But thanks so much. It's been great fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for what you shared and everything like that. And we're glad to have you with us.
Cool. And I'll definitely be on next week to hear the other stories and evaluations and keep learning.
Oh yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? And we're
Thanks,
doing something
Linda.
here too. You're welcome. We're
Keep
doing
well.
something here.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. What we're doing here is this does mean something because there's a lot of suffering. There's a tremendous suffering going on out there that women have been taught to trim their horses in a bad way that is killing their horses. And this is the truth. This is the truth. You have people out there and everybody means well. Okay. Nobody ever got into this to harm their animal, but this is what we were taught. And this is inherited. This is inherited from hundreds of years ago. You know, they never did know the anatomy. And then falsehood got put in as the anatomy. And then they make decisions based on what they think is truth when it isn't the truth at all. And so we need to fix this. We're fixers, right? So we can fix this.
We try.
I can fix this. Yeah. Okay, so she says, you can see that his coffin bone is flat. Okay. And his distal something is what? Distal something is jagged.
Cushion.
Cushion. Oh, digital cushion. Okay. And his heels are being pushed up and it's causing an upside down V. How would you fix that? Well, you just got to restore the back of the foot. And as you do, it'll unfold everything and the frog's tail start growing and it'll pump everything up like a hydraulic jack and it'll push the internal heel back down. And it just does an unfolding, unfurling process. So, you know, that's how you fix it. And stuff, because they're not supposed to have a ground parallel coffin bone. See, that's the whole thing too. How many have heard that? Oh, your horse has to have a ground parallel coffin bone. They preach that all the time, don't they? Well, what happens when you do that? You're crushing your heels. So I'm going to show you a picture here. Just a second here. I think I have it in here. Let me see. Hopefully. Okay, I know you're here. Please be here. Okay, right here. Here you go. Here's the true foot. Oh, wait. New share. Okay, here's the true foot of the horse right here. This is anatomically correct, what you see here. And this is a foot that was barefoot trimmed for years. Right here. This is what it's doing to these horses. You see how it's totally deformed the central sulcus, the sulcus between the frog core in the frog corium where the frog stay grows, totally deformed it. It's look at the heels, how it's pushed the heels up into the foot like that. Look at how it created this horrible imbalance in the foot. Now look how nice and balanced this foot here is. See there? And then look at this. Poor horse. This horse was put down. The vet said he had shredded tendons. All these horses, see, that they think are sound. You know, horses adapt. All right. But there's still damage. There's still damage going on. Physical damage up in the tendons, the knees, the joints, the back, you know. And so then the longer they're this way, the worse it gets. And then eventually something breaks down, you know, and this horse, his tendons were totally destroyed. He couldn't hardly walk. And that's why he was put down. And it was all due to the trim. And this is a Strasser-Jackson trim. Okay. They inherited error clear from that creep Coleman that ran the vet school and tried to squelch all the research that Bracy Clark did. So Strasser, she went to vet school. She inherited error. Okay. Jamie Jackson, he's a farrier. He inherited error. And so they started from a place of error in developing their trims. So just like everybody else, the highest vet schools in the land all go back to that one jerk that shouldn't even have been appointed to that school. Oh, but how many times have we seen that? You know, where some jerk gets in a position of management that don't know what the heck he's doing, right? And just makes it hard for everybody else. That's the way of the world. You know, that's the elite. You know, he's probably appointed by some big shot there. Could have been appointed by the king, because in his book, I mean, he could not kiss up anymore to his majesty. Believe you me. See, you have to read his book and stuff. He was not a good man, not at all, not even a little bit. And especially when you read what he did to Bracy Clark. So a lot of this is his fault, and hopefully he'll be judged for it someday. Okay, so here's that foot. Look at that. Does that look sore? See, this is a foot that was crammed into a little bitty capsule. See the difference? This is what's going on in these horses. And of course, this is somebody else's dissection. And this was a horse that was barefoot trimmed too. And this foot is deformed. Look at how the coronary band is pulled down. See it? Well, Jackie's just saying about how she thinks her coffin bone is flat. What's that do? When the heels are crushed, you get a ground parallel coffin bone instead of elevated, because you've okay, look. Now, this capsule had a little issue right in here, but this horse still had a really nice foot. This was a mare, and look at her cartilage, looks pretty nice there. But look at this guy. He was crammed into that little tiny capsule. So anyway, that's what a internal foot's supposed to look like. So these are all internal feet here that I've got. That was a good foot. Okay. Good foot. See how the coronary band is supposed to be straight and the heel buttress grows like that? Not like this. This is another, look at the coronary band here. See how it's bent? And then it gets an arch right here, and they think that is part of the anatomy. That's what they think. That's what they teach. See? This is the internal arch. They think the foot is arched like this. And so they're scooping it out on a continual basis because they think it's supposed to be like that, because they've inherited error. And everything they teach is based on a bad foundation of anatomical error. You wouldn't want them operating on your heart if they were heart surgeons. Let's put it that way. The elites, the educated, the ones that have gone to the colleges and stuff like that. Bracy Clark said, one's early education prejudices are hard to overcome. So, you know, I don't care if people want to believe that or not, you know. So I'm sorry, it's the truth. I wish it wasn't. I'd sure rather be doing something else today than this. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you guys just like to be out riding your horse?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. You know, some people haven't ridden their horses for a long time. You do realize that, right? That some people had to stop riding their horses because their feet got so bad that
I've been there.
Yeah. See, thanks. Here we go. See, here again. Coffin bone is not ground parallel. It sets in the foot at an angle like this, and then the coriums and the cartilage get thicker as they go from the toe to the heel. See, and so your coffin bone ends right here. Anyway, that's all I got. You know, what kind of foot do you want to put on a horse? That was man-made right there. His foot. Now, here's the thing. This is a mare. This is a gelding. He was bigger, boned, bigger everything than this mare. And look at the size his foot was compressed and deformed into. So imagine the pain that horse was in for years. Right? Okay, so can you, well, there. See that? See how some of them go wide, and then some of them, as the heels are all, everything's moving forward here, see? Some of them go wide, and then some of them contract, and some of them just, I mean, there's a whole range of what happens to these feet. Now, this was front and back foot off the same horse, I think. And so these feet were good feet. See the symmetry? You know, see the sole ridge? There? See how wide it is? Yeah, this was a front and a back foot. I think that's the back foot. I think that's the front foot. Here's another thing they teach. Those vets, they taught that the foot was round. I don't see a round foot there. Do you? Here's the capsules. Anyway, my dog says somebody's at the door, so I'm probably going to let y'all go.
Thank you, Linda.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Lynn. That was great.
Hey, you guys are great. Yo, here's that paint horse that had to be put down. That's his foot. Kind of got a little rotten right there, but anyway. Yeah. Okay, hey, I gotta go. Somebody's at the door. You guys are the best.
Thank you.
Let's
Bye. Thank you.
make a
Good
difference.
night, sweetie.
Okay, bye.
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 Bye.